This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
My goodness, welcome everyone to a very cute start to Wild Earth this afternoon. This is the first time I'm seeing these little cheetah cubs. My golly gosh, they are so cute. Here she comes straight towards us. But while they come past us here, we'll just keep an eye on them. They are slowly walking towards us. This is, like I said, the first time that these cheetah cubs have been, I think, or maybe only the second time they've been live. I'm just going to keep nice and quiet. They are literally a couple of meters away from us. What an incredible start to this afternoon's drive, and it's my first time back at Wild Earth in like the last 2.5 weeks. Just waiting. Okay, the cubs have moved off a little bit. I don't want to turn around and chase them away with the vehicle, because like I said, they are super new. Let's turn around and see if we can get a view of them. Oh my goodness, they're walking on one of the main roads on Pinder, right up to the top of the crest. This is going to be exceptional. There we go, look at that. Can just see the youngsters looking back to us every now and then. So I think we'll just keep an eye on them from here and give them some distance. Look how Mom's looking around. She's very aware of what's going on around her. When we saw them first, Glenn and I just had them drinking at a big water bottle. Yeah, sorry, we didn't even introduce ourselves, but my name is Dewald and Glenn is behind the camera, and we are on and beyond Pinder Private Game Reserve. What a crazy start. Look at the youngsters just walking behind Mom there. She's walking very slowly, waiting for them to catch up. See the youngsters looking back towards us. I can't believe they were so relaxed with walking even past the vehicle. See how Mom just stops and listens every now and then. Penelope, you're saying they are definitely super cute. They are the cutest little things ever. But I always find that cheetah cubs, they almost like black beneath it with that long white fur on top, almost resembling like a bit of a honey badger type vibe there. But they are so cute. Look at them looking back towards us. They are still not sure of all their surroundings. So they keep on trotting behind Mom. I'm hoping there's actually on the other side of this crest here, there's a big open clearing, and I'm hoping that she's taking them there and they'll go and lie and rest in the open clearing. So she'll try and move between these open clearings because it's a little bit safer for her and her cubs. As you can see, she's very aware of what's going on around her, just to make sure that no other predators can approach them without her knowing it, and the youngsters being kept safe. They are so small. Look at them standing next to her. When they're next to their mother like that, just gives you the size comparison. Wow. There's 3 of them. So the first time that she was found with her cubs, I think there was 4 in total. So 1 already, unfortunately, has not made it. But being so small, you can imagine that the dangers for a little cheetah cub is quite a lot. But 3 of them surviving so far is still amazing. And if this female's heading into the area that I think she is, hopefully that's going to be good for them. Look at them on the rise there, on the crest, forming silhouettes. Apologies for the phones ringing earlier. That is the way that we communicate with the directors in Johannesburg. You can see the youngsters just trotting ahead. So just think of this area that she's covered now is not that much, so she's just walking and looking around a lot, so making sure that she can keep up with them, or they can keep up with her, sorry. Her tail flicking around every now and then. They're soon going to disappear over the crest there.
Oh dear old, I've had that problem so many times when I get so excited and I completely forget to tell everyone who I am. But this time, I'm taking it easy, so I can't tell you who I am. Hi everyone, it's me, Trishala, and I have Johan on camera with me this afternoon on Djuma Game Reserve. It is hot. Ole, ole. 38 degrees Celsius, 100 degrees of Fahrenheit, and we are doing what we best can at this time of day, and that is to find a patch of shade at the dam and just watch what comes down to drink. We had some good luck at this dam this morning, so I thought let's just sit around. I'm quite sure that we'll get some elephants coming down to greet us and to greet you on your live safari. Well, as I said, live and for you, so do you use that hashtag Wild Earth on Twitter, at FC on the YouTube chat stream, or please go up to our website, sign up, and use our question box and get all your questions and comments through to us, or as many as we can, and we'll try to answer them. We love having discussions with all of you, so please do that. You can hear there's some wonderful sounds. I can hear the impala ewes calling their little lambs with that wonderful burp sound that I can do very well. Burp, kind of like that. It seems that even they are chilling at the dam this afternoon. And our hippo has lost his stick for now, but maybe he'll have to entertain himself in a bit when the impalas move off. It's a particularly difficult day for a hippo when it's hot like this. Also, it's a crazy UV index, something like 13. So we're going to be very nice and toasty after this game drive. And that's why this hippo's got to stay in the water, say for as long as he can, and as much of his body as possible in the water, so that he can save his skin from desiccation or dehydration, drying out. So it dries out, cracks, and you can get all sorts of infections And apart from that, it would be quite painful. Well, I see a great go-away bird and an impala having a drink together. Unlikely couple to watch having a drink together. Oh, impala. That would have been a photo. Lots of little lovelies at this dam. Lots and lots and lots. Blacksmith Lapwing as usual. Good afternoon, Lapwing. How are you coping with this heat? Wearing some black? Quite well, it says. It says, luckily for the lapwing, my long legs means that I can dissipate some heat quite well. And the fact that I'm keeping them in the water. At least some of the time. That will draw heat away from it and keep it cool. There's not many patches of shade here at the dam, but unlike the other animals that we're hoping to see at the dam, we're not going to be drinking any water here. So we have monopolized the one piece of shade. And we're really, really hoping for some elephants. They are a lovely impala. Natalie would like to know if they're related to the black-faced impala. Yes, in fact, they're pretty much the same thing. It's just that they have a slight genetic variation. And some people class it as a subspecies, the black-faced impala, and some people don't. Some researchers think that it might have to do more with just genetic variation, while other researchers class them as their own subspecies. This great go-away bird is very close to us. And I know we see them all the time, but it's always nice when an animal is really close or you don't often see close. It just flew across the dam and sat next to us in this guari bush that is the provider of our shade. Oh, look, it's coming right up to your hand to say hello. Hello, grey go-away bird. How are you this warm afternoon? What are you doing to cope with this heat? Ah, behavioral change, you say? Because you are finding some cool shade and going to the tops of trees where you can catch a good breeze. Oh, very good strategy. Very, very good indeed. Well, I see some more critters coming down to drink, but I'm going to send you over to Tristan to say good afternoon, because of course in this heat where we can't find anything else, Tristan is able to find a leopard.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and we do indeed a very hidden, very well-disguised leopard at this stage. Had it not been for the fact that we had kind of found this cat this morning and came and checked in the same place, even though he's not where we left him, we would have had a very big problem, because it is near impossible to see him at this stage. Anyway, my name is Tristan, on camera with Theo this afternoon, and it is a very warm welcome, and I say very warm because it is hot out here. It feels like a furnace. We're not going to be able to sit where we are right now unless we want third-degree burns and skin cancer at this stage. So we're going to kind of just give you a first look of him and kind of just sort of see what he's up to. He looks so hot that he doesn't want to move either, and then we're going to try and find some semblance of shade because otherwise I think we are going to burn ourselves badly today if we stay in the sun like this. It's still very, very warm. You can tell by the way that he's breathing how hot it is at the moment. He's heavily panting. That mouth is wide open. And you can see the rate of breathing is very, very, very quick, should I say. And that's just trying to slowly but surely kind of cool that body down. Now, like I say, it would have been tricky to find him at the best of times. It wasn't easy to find him now either, because he's moved probably about, I'd say, about 30 meters. But in this bush, it is 30 meters is like a needle in a haystack. Luckily, though, we just kind of drove in the direction of which way the sun would have turned as the shade would have changed. And it's a stupid way to do things, because obviously as the sun goes over, various trees cast shade in different ways, but I just thought maybe we'll try it. And it's against what we would have done had we followed his direction, but we luckily then picked him up hiding in underneath a bush. If he had kept his head down here and his tail not moving, we wouldn't have seen him at all. It would have driven right past him. But luckily, his little white tail twitched and his head popped up, and that was enough for us to be able to find him. So I'm thoroughly looking forward to this afternoon. We've got a good chance to spend pretty much the entire drive with him, which is quite special. He's obviously not a cat we've seen that much of, although this week we've had two kind of nice sort of sightings with him. And then this morning we got to spend a little time with him, and this afternoon hopefully we'll get to spend a whole lot more, and we'll see what he gets up to. I suspect that because of this heat, he's going to tuck himself in under these bushes for a while. So I would imagine the next hour and a half to 2 hours he's not going to do all that much. But then as it starts to get cooler, maybe he's going to take us on a little stroll. Maybe he wants to go and try find water, although the nearest water from here is quite a long way away. There's nothing close to where he is. And I don't know if, Mom might come and fetch him, so we'll just see what happens. But after a beastly hot day like this, water would be something that I'm sure he would love. And so he might take a little walk towards Chitwa Dam, maybe. We're a little bit far from there, but I suppose actually the nearest would be Cheetah Plains Camp. That would probably be the closest point of water. But even then, that's probably for him about a half an hour walk, 45-minute walk from where he is now. So Mom has not left him in the best spot. He's got a lot of shade, but there's not very much access to a nice place to sit and rest and to get water and cool himself down that way. Unlike his cousin / half-brother / kind of, I don't even know what to call him, Tandi's cub, he's got the pound seats, because where Tandi's left him, there's a nice big water hole, there's a beautiful big drainage line, there's little muddy wallows, there's pretty much shade everywhere. He's got the best of all worlds, does the little prince. So he's spoilt in comparison today with Kuchava's little one, but let's see, maybe he'll take a walk later and he'll find himself some water. But amazing how he just kind of hides behind that, and you can see deep shade, how he's able to kind of hide. Anyway, we're going to sit with him. We'll see what he gets up to and try and find some shade ourselves. In the meantime, we're going to send you off somewhere else in Africa.
Good afternoon from Twalu. We are here at one of our waterholes already, and you're joining myself, Deirdre, and on camera, Owen, for this lovely warm afternoon. It's still windy, so it'll be once again an interesting afternoon. We're going to potter around from waterhole to waterhole. It's still quite hot, and see what comes. But we have been watching those Blacksmith Lapwings. I know Carl's been showing you that they've been on a nest, so there's no sudden outbreak of chicks at this stage. They're still on the nest. The female just got off the nest as we got here, and the poor Egyptian goose happened to be walking past, and she made him waddle along a little bit faster. She definitely wasn't too happy that he was walking close to the nest, and she sent him on his way. And then the pair themselves decided that it would be a nice afternoon time to have a bit of a splash and a bath. So they've been in the water, they've done their splashing already, and now they're starting to preen and clean all their feathers. Just realign everything, make sure they're nice and clean. Oh, and then if we go further to the right, and there's another two birds that are coming down to drink. It's a pair of helmeted Guinea fowl. Also a little bit nervous to approach the water directly. But they are in their pairs at the moment, so in sort of a breeding season, as it were. Possibly also having a clutch, very, very well hidden, a clutch of sort of up to about 12, 14 eggs somewhere in a little grass clump or something. Oh, no, they've left. So, are you on those butterflies that side, or are you going to come across? So we've noticed there's... just with the heat in the last few days, there's been a sudden explosion of the brown-veined whites. I know those of you that were with us yesterday morning watched the spectacular emergence of life yesterday. And for me, in all my 20-plus years, it was an absolute first. And Kyle and I just couldn't get enough. We even made Owen stay there for another 20 minutes so we could maybe see another one come out. But that's predominantly the brown-veined whites there that are just getting their sustenance from the water. I did see one or two yellow ones, but a little bit too far to identify. So while we go in search at another water body, I'm going to send you to Trishana with her turtle.
We've been having a look now at the terrapins. Oh, there's one on the other side. The one that we had that was quite close to us decided to just engage a little bit of geophagy, eating some of the soil, and then plopped back in, much like this one. Look at that. We get two types of terrapins here. We get the Marsh Terrapin and the serrated hinged terrapin. And the serrated hinged terrapin are the ones that like permanent water sources. So not just pans that will dry up and then fill up again, ephemeral pans. So the ones that we're likely to see here are the serrated hinged terrapins. Oh, we have a drongo fight going on. Can you hear them? It's all going on in that guari bush. And a woodland kingfisher between them, dipping down into the water. Oh, gorgeous! That's likely a territorial dispute. But now everything's fine. Nope, not quite. Oh, well, our closest terrapin has come back out again. Now, you might think it looks a lot like a tortoise, and yes, it is a Chelonian. But it is not a tortoise, it is a terrapin. And some of the differences between a tortoise and a terrapin and a turtle. I know that other places in the world, sometimes tortoises and turtles are both called by the word turtle. But here, when we refer to a turtle is an oceanic Chelonian, so it lives in the ocean, salt water. Terrapins live in fresh water And they're semi-aquatic, so sometimes they're out of the water, sometimes they're in the water. They'll bask outside of the water and then spend the majority of the time in the water. So them and hippos have a good relationship because they have a similar lifestyle. And then the difference between terrapins and tortoises are quite obvious in that tortoises are on land and they have claws on their feet. Terrapins have webbed feet to assist them in their movement in the water. It's not very obviously webbed, like a turtle's would be. The turtles are completely modified to become flippers. But there are three very different types of chelonians: turtles, terrapins, and tortoises. Rosalind, you'd like to know how old the terrapins live to? I actually don't know that answer, Rosalind. They are, as with most chelonians, they experience what we call a negligible senescence, which means that they age slowly. They're slow-moving creatures that age slowly. But how long they can actually get to, I don't know. But that is an excellent question. I'm going to find out for you. They don't get much bigger than what you saw now. So maybe about 20 centimeter diameter of their shell. Maybe 30 centimeters we stretched out with their body and their tail. But that's about the most that they'll get, or the average that they'd get to. So we'll have to find out how old they can get. Thank you for that question. Now I'm going to send you over to Tristan and the leopard in the meantime. Ooh, face off.
Good afternoon, station data out on drive. Any updates for friend, please?
Well, indeed, we do have our leopard. We've managed to find ourselves a little spot of shade and get a really nice clear view of our little male. So we're winning this afternoon. We certainly have gotten things a lot better than when we first started out. It's amazing the difference between the sun sections and being in a little bit of shade, how much cooler it is. And he's found himself a really nice spot there. He's kind of well hidden. It's not even dappled light there. That's solid shade that he's in, due to the fact that he's behind this kind of, it looks like maybe a large fruited bush willow, or a variable, one of the two. But he's kind of just panting and watching us still. He's still kind of getting used to the fact that we're here. It takes a little bit of time with him. Especially because we kind of repositioned and just try to find somewhere where we could sit without feeling like we were melting. And that's why he's still awake. But I suspect he's going to flop down just now. His head will go down and he'll get comfortable and just to wait out this heat. But he's beautiful, isn't he? I'm so glad we're getting to spend so much time with him. I know it's a kind of work in progress, but he still hasn't shown that young kind of male leopard exuberance that we've seen from the likes of Tamba and Hosana before them. But he and his, like I say, what are we going to call it? His same aged friend, if we want to call it that, one of his family members. Both of them have kind of started out life without seeing cars as much as a lot of other leopards, and so their kind of characters will only start to shine through once they become less wary of the cars. And even though sitting in the heat like this is not going to work in terms of him being very playful, later in the afternoon, once he's growing accustomed to the fact that we're sitting with him, you'll see that he'll get a lot better and he'll start to move around, and hopefully he'll give us a bit of a show. So we're investing in him at the moment, and hopefully he'll the investment will pay off, because there was quite a lot of options to go for this afternoon. There was Tandi's white little cub. There's was a report of Monzo again late in the morning. There was Tlalamba, but I quite like him, and like I say, we see so little of him. It's always nice just to spend a long period, and this afternoon we have an opportunity to spend pretty much the whole afternoon with this little cat, which will be cool. Now, on top of that, I find him very pretty. He's got that typical male leopard look. I mean, he obviously has the large ears. That is a distinct characteristic of this family. You could say that his older cousin, Tumba, was the original one with the really big ears, and he grew nicely into them, well, bar the one that was lopped off by either a leopard or a hyena. I actually don't know if anyone's 100% sure which one did it, but he's got half an ear now. Even his mom, though, Kuchava, has quite large ears for the size of her head, and so he's got that trait, but he'll eventually grow into them. They won't look so goofy as he gets a little bit bigger. His ear size will kind of match his head size eventually. You must remember that this cat is, I believe October of last year, so we're talking just over 14 months, so he's still tiny. He's only going to develop and be fully grown when he reaches kind of 7 years, but obviously he'll reach sort of 80 to 90% of his size by the time he's 5. So he's got a long way to go before he kind of fills out and really sort of becomes the leopard that he's going to be. You find that their shoulders and their head and everything else grows, and the paws and the ears, thankfully, don't really grow with it. So they start to look a lot more kind of in proportion than what they do now. I'm quite keen to see his tracks properly, though. This morning was just kind of spotting him rather than tracking him. But I'm quite keen to see how big his feet are. The other day I had a golden opportunity and I didn't actually take notice. And it was a bit tricky because between Tandi and Kuchava and him, there was just a kind of mess of tracks on the road. And it was I should have, when he crossed the road, I should have looked at the size of his feet. But I suspect that they'll be bigger than his mom's already. They should be quite large. His age would indicate that his tracks should be bigger than his mom. Okay, well, we're going to spend the afternoon with our little boy. Hopefully he will get up a little bit later, but for now, it's just about enjoying each other's presence and enjoying the peace and quiet of the bush.
Have you been watching Wild Earth and dreamt of being right there on safari with one of the guides? Well, now you can. Wild Earth is offering you a chance to buy a ticket to dream. You or a friend can hop on board a live Wild Earth show and join our guide on safari. The ticket is redeemable at any of our locations, anytime in the future. Only a limited number of tickets are available, so don't wait. Get your ticket now and start dreaming. Terms and conditions apply.
Join us around the fire as we have our very first Wild Earth Explorers Fireside Chat.
And what that means is that if you are an explorer, we're inviting you to come and join us so we can chat about the greatest highlights of 2020.
We will be chatting about our favorite characters and what they have been up to during the course of this year.
And if you would like to join us, head over to our Explorers page and subscribe. Don't miss out. This Fireside Chat will be on the 13th of December at 7:30 p.m. Central African Time, straight after Sunset Safari.
You are cheeky. That was a brave decision. Amber Eyes is... Oh. That is so magic. That was absolutely wonderful. Amber Eyes just gave that cub an enormous hug.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily. Wild Earth is launching our brand new Explorer program with an opportunity to win a very special Wild Earth expedition. The lucky winner will get a behind-the-scenes Wild Earth experience at the magnificent and beyond Ngala Tainted Safari Camp. The prize includes a 3-night stay for you and a friend with a chance to sleep out in the unique Ngala treehouse. Become a Wild Earth Explorer and stand a chance to win this and many other prizes. Terms and conditions apply.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to And Beyond Ngala. And I'm sure you've been told many times this afternoon it is incredibly hot out here in the Lowveld, and it seems like the rest of South Africa. What we have here, I think with the heat of the day, I think it was a good idea to come to a watering hole. We've still got some elephants that are drinking. There was a herd that came through as well, kind of moving around onto the outsides to feed. But good afternoon, everyone. My name's Dan. On camera this afternoon, we've got BK. So with the weather conditions and the heat, what I'm thinking is I'm probably going to be hanging around this watering hole for some time. I mean, this is the best place, particularly for elephants, who are probably going to be some of the only animals that are moving around in the heat of the day like this and feeding and moving to those ones. So I think it's a good idea to come and try and see if we can watch these elephants for a while. Maybe some herds will come through. And yeah, I mean, as it starts to cool down, that's when all the other animals will start to get active and start to move around. Look at these two, they're just kind of moving along the banks here, just dipping their toes in. The one that's kind of just had a drink now looks like it might have been throwing some mud and water on itself previously. I'm sure it's come to this watering hole to have more of a drink. There are these little mud pans and mud wallows around, which are great for cooling animals down, but not so great to drink. This fresh, or it doesn't look that fresh, but it's fresher than those mud wallows and a really good place to have a drink. You see, they haven't done too much splashing of themselves, as I think we mentioned the other day, how it takes a real long time for animals or these big elephants to cool down and heat up. So because they probably were cooling themselves down early in the morning, it's going to take them a long time to warm up again. So, well, this one might go and have a swim now, as I'm saying that. A younger bull, they're often, particularly the younger bulls, are often super adventurous around the watering hole, loving to go swim, splash around. Oh, getting pushed in the backside, encouraging the swim. Oh! If I was this elephant, I'd certainly be going for a swim. It's sitting at around 40 degrees here. Greg, elephants, hooray. It's going to be like that. I think this morning we saw many, many, many elephants, and I think it's going to be no different this afternoon. All the other animals are probably spending a lot of time in the shade, and I don't blame them. But elephants, being so big in size and actually needing to spend an incredibly large amount of their time feeding, are the ones that are really going to be active at this time. And they are able and capable of swimming and keep cooling themselves down incredibly quickly here. Look at those trunks, they kind of just come up like a little snorkel, allowing to breathe, and it's amazing how such a big animal can just disappear. And there are hippos in this watering hole. I'm sure they've been pestered by elephants today because it is so hot. I'm sure there have been many, many elephants coming down to swim and drink today. And the hippos are probably being chased from one end of the watering hole to the next. They're never going to really get into an altercation. A hippo knows it's risking a serious injury if it goes towards an elephant, particularly a group of elephants, and tries to kind of push its weight around. Look at these two kind of wrestling. Having such a good time. There's all sorts of birds flying around as well, a couple of little swifts. I don't know if you see them kind of pop into the frame every now and then. Little swifts, barn swallows, European bee-eaters, some southern masked weavers calling over here. There's a Sterling's wren warbler calling as well on our right-hand side earlier. I love how they sit down like that as well. I mean, it must feel really nice. I mean, it's not so deep. These animals are like really lying on their sides, and you'll see when they sit down, they must ooze into the bottom, into that muddy bottom. It's incredible to see how such big animals can just disappear. Completely gone. They look like hippos now. Okay, obviously when the trunk comes up there, you can see that it's an elephant. Look at those tusks. Tusks are getting a nice good clean as well. Particularly if they were throwing all the mud on themselves, they can often dirty those tusks, and they can, when they're feeding on trees and leaves and using those tusks to kind of break bark off, they can get very dirty. C-Mac, do I have any elephant stories that I might share? I've got many. It depends which one you want to hear, but I'll share one in particular from this morning. I mean, there were elephants all over the place in this eastern part of the reserve, and because it was also a really warm morning, we kind of focused on the watering holes, and there were about 45 elephants that were all sitting in a small little mud wallow, throwing mud on themselves, rolling around, splashing themselves, drinking. It really is special. Being able to be surrounded by such big animals and then so many of them is really, really special. And it's unique. I mean, there's not many places in the world where you can be surrounded by such powerful creatures. And if you are respectful enough to them, they will just go on and do exactly what they would be doing even though you weren't there. And that's super special. There's like an instant respect between the elephant and us, particularly when they get quite close. It really is special. It's a silence and a respect that you'll only get out here in the wild. But I mean, C-Mac, going back to elephants and elephant encounters and stories, elephants are some of the most amazing animals to watch and spend time with, simply because they spend very little time sleeping. And people often get frustrated with cats like lions and leopards who spend a huge portion of their days sleeping, whereas elephants need to be moving almost constantly, feeding, drinking, and they cover huge distances, and particularly because they live in these intricate family groups, particularly the females at least, you see dynamics and relationships and hierarchies, and trying to watch and understand that every day, every situation is so amazing, and trying to understand it and kind of read every unique situation is really special. And it takes, you'll never really have it 100%. Everybody's going to have their own opinions as to what might be happening, which is also such a privilege to be able to guess. And the longer you spend out here, the better you will get at trying to understand these animals' behavior. So, there was a herd. I think these are two bulls that would have been at the back of the herd that have come in, and they're just taking all the time that they want in the watering hole. They're not worried too much. They look like they're at the age where they might have either recently been chased away or actually I think they have been chased away. I wonder if they haven't just kind of come into the watering hole to have a swim and a drink at the same time that another herd was here. Do you hear that? So that was another elephant as well. I wonder if there aren't some more bulls similar to this one that are coming through to maybe have a drink or a swim. And with the little babies in the herd, a little bit of asserting dominance in the water here. And if the bulls like these two come in and put a bit of pressure on the calves, the females can make those high-pitched screeches. Even the little ones will make a high-pitched screech. And then the females will kick into like a defensive formation and kind of put the little babies in the middle and try and chase the younger, irritating bulls away. You see, this kind of boisterous behavior that these two are doing in the watering holes can't be tolerated around a herd. Particularly when they're little babies, it can be quite dangerous. And the females don't tolerate it. They'll chase the bulls out quite aggressively, actually. And these are two smaller bulls, so they're not towering over the females in terms of size and strength just yet, so they will make some space. The bigger bulls can often be a little bit of a worry, and females really don't like it. They can shout and screech and scream and try and chase them away. Even the mating process, particularly if it's a female's first time with a huge bull, it's also quite a traumatic experience. A bull that might be almost double your size trying to mate with you can be quite traumatic, and you'll see the cows not really knowing what to do. But these two... So I think, just judging by how hot it is and the activity that is going around this watering hole, there's elephants all around that screech behind us as well. Maybe there's some more bulls or another herd that's coming up to swim. I think I'm going to spend a bit more time here, but in the meantime, I'm going to send you to Trishala and her impala.
Dan, that's exactly what I'm hoping for. We've had some excellent activity here at Treehouse Dam. Lots of little birds. Seen cinnamon-breasted bunting, golden-breasted bunting, green-winged petilia, blue waxbills. yellow canary, Egyptian geese, blacksmith lapwing, grey go-away birds, woodland kingfisher, all just sitting here. So it's been truly amazing. I just hope that we'll be able to get some elephants. But I think that after this segment I'm going to go to Twin Dams and see if we'll get lucky with some elephants down there. This impala herd has been very good to us too. Mostly the bachelors on this side, but there are some ewes further away with some lambs. They swim so smoothly, and it's so carefree. Hi, Spats. You'd like to know what is the main predators of Egyptian geese? Egyptian geese, the chicks, are probably the ones that get it the worst, and those would be monitor lizards, Nile monitors that would get them, aerial predators, unfortunately. Can you imagine seeing a little Egyptian gosling in the talons of a tawny eagle or a batelier? They tend to hang around here. Crocodiles. They could be a major problem for these guys. But I can't say that I've seen any of the cats attempt to take an Egyptian goose, but if there was one who would, I think it would be Tlalamba who would have a go. How much would you give to see one of our leopards jump in the dam because it's just too hot today? I think that would just be a spectacular sighting of the year, that would be. But I'd prefer if it was not with the hippo in it. I can imagine Tlalamba having some fun here. Speaking of her, I left her this morning moving towards camp. I hope that she managed to get herself a snack. She was still about 1.5 kilometers or so from camp, but she was making her way in that direction. So later on, when it starts to cool down, we'll have a good sniff around a quarantine Ingwe Alley neighboring areas. See if we can catch up with that girl again. There comes the kingfisher. I can't hear any elephants, and usually we would be able to. Cinnamon-breasted bunting running away from us. Oh, look at that. Gorgeous, gorgeous. Everyone's got elephants at the dam. I need to find myself some. So let me send you over to Taylor so you can see her elephants.
Well, Trojala, we have been waiting patiently for about 45 minutes now, and finally, 2 young elephant bulls have made their way down towards Ndlovu Dam. It's always weird saying that, elephants at Ndlovu Dam. Anyways, my name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is Sebastian Rombi. There's like a whole bunch of animals now behind us. Hey, Seb? The zebra and giraffe, if you joined us yesterday afternoon, you may have seen, are also behind us, but they'll probably come down in a minute. But we're here on Pradhan's Conservancy, which are part of Baluli Game Reserve and the Greater Kruger National Park. The Ailey's don't seem to be sticking around for too long. One fellow's already headed up. Hopefully this younger boy will consider taking a dip. It's so warm, which I'm sure every other safari guide has told you this afternoon. So I'm honestly shocked that there haven't been dare I say, flocks of elephants, because sometimes that's what it looks like. Not quite herds, but like 3 or 4 different herds of elephants come through. It's amazing. Not today, though. I don't know where they are, actually. I think maybe they're just doing a loop and have moved on to other areas, because we haven't seen a proper breeding herd, well, at least a big breeding herd for quite some time now. I say this, and quite some time to me is a few days, because we're so spoilt with elephant sightings. Just having a nice drink. Now, Oscar, yes, in fact, elephants are known to be bullies, especially around watering holes. So yes, so for them to have an argument or a clash with other mammal species that are lingering around the water is quite a high possibility. So literally from something like a hippo or buffaloes, even a rhinoceros, right down to small creatures like Egyptian geese and blacksmith lapwings, they'll have arguments with. And interestingly enough, the blacksmith lapwings often put up a big fight, more of a fight than some of the animal species. So yeah, so Ailey's, especially bulls of this age, will try and assert their dominance over everybody. But not today, though. He's too preoccupied with keeping himself nice and cool. Come on, go for a swim. That's going to be a much better option. You know you want to. Well, I don't think this is the first time that they've been at the dam. I think they've probably been here earlier. Looks like they're quite wet. So maybe they splashed themselves at a mud wallow or something earlier during the day. Or they could have come here. But it's not just the elephant that's here. We have got our lonely hippopotamus friend who is still lingering around in Lovu Dam. So that's good. And he is fast asleep at the moment. He's not interested in the elephants whatsoever. Hopefully he'll wake up in a little bit too and show off. It'd also be nice to see the buffaloes. I know the buffaloes have been hanging around Leopard Dam, but it's also only a matter of time before they change direction and continue down a bit further south. There's some nice grazing areas for them around here too. But you can see the wind is starting to pick up as well. I don't know when the rain is supposed to come, but there's definitely something building. Especially at this time of the year, we get these exceptionally warm days, quite humid, and the humidity just keeps building, and then the wind starts to pick up, and then before you know it, thunderstorm, which I think we're actually all looking forward to now. Although last week we were complaining about there not being any sun, and we only need 3 days of 37 degrees Celsius before we're back to wanting the cool weather. It can be miserable and rainy every single day until the 17th. And then it has to be sunny, because that's what I'll be pretty much look like this hippo every single day after the 17th. I will not be leaving my swimming pool. And here are a few oxpeckers as well. Seb, can we see if we can try and have a look at the oxpeckers? There's one quite close to us, just in front of the vehicle. No, stay there. Sorry. So, not sitting on any of the mammal species just yet. Maybe they've come with the zebra and giraffe that I said to you were behind us, but these are the red-billed oxpeckers. They are known, of course, to hang on the backs of various species. But even this temperature is luring them down towards the water's edge. And I hope it decides to have a bit of a plunge bath too. Come and splash around in the water. You also know you want to. They get exceptionally hot and they're not afraid. Lots of butterflies and dragonflies also fluttering about. Not that this oxpecker is interested in eating any of them, but those insects will also be around here, getting all the moisture. Just taking little gulps every now and then. It's nice to have an up-close view of the oxpecker. It's very, very close to us, actually. It's only about 10 meters in front of us. Off it goes. Wonderful. Well, I think we're going to just play it out here in Lovu Dam to see what else comes about. Off you go across to Deerbelt, who's got lions deep in a slumber.
So we left that female cheetah and our youngsters just to give them some space. As we said, they were getting used to the vehicles. And we came across a whole pride of lions that spread out all over this area around us. But look at this beautiful male that's lying right out in the open with his big dark mane, and we'll see if we can get a view of all the other lions as the day goes past, as the drive goes past. But all of them seems like they've got quite a full bellies. The male's lying at a little bit of a different angle, so not too easy to see if he does have a big belly either. But funny enough, I went to look for this male lion and one of his brother maybe in a different area this morning, because he was mating with a different pride of females, because they actually move in between two prides. He's having a bit of a dream there, it seems. I don't know if you saw the movement there in his legs jiggling around. So this male, if it is him, he's walked a long distance to get you. There we go, his head is up. Nothing like good afternoon nap. And like I said, he's moved quite a long distance from where we saw him the last couple of days. So that's probably why he's nice and lazy, full belly as well. It's nice and cool, so he's lying right out into open as well. I don't know if you saw him just move his paw over his nose there. Maybe some insects biting him there. Have a look at his elbows on his front legs. The mane grows all the way down his chest and onto his elbows there. Interesting how he's got that blonde patch of mane on top of his head, and then it gets darker to even the ones that's on his elbow and below his front legs there. Baby, you're asking which pride this male lion is from. So the whole pride is actually spread out all around us here. The one that he's with at the moment is called the Bayala pride, and their territory is in the southwestern sector of Phinda. And then him and his brother, because they've got such a big territory here on Phinda, they actually are in control of another pride of lions, the mountain pride, and they actually move in between these two prides. Like I said, they were mating with a female from the mountain pride a couple of days ago, and today they are with this pride over here. So they have such a big territory, and I think the fact that him and his brothers stick together and have formed a coalition, they'll be able to hang on to these territories for a little bit longer until there's maybe a coalition of younger males that come in. Take it over. See how he's breathing quite heavily, but not really panting, because it's actually a nice and cool afternoon. It's a little bit humid, but after 2 days of hectic thunderstorms and heavy rain, it's nice and cool here at the moment. See that tail just flick around every now and then, chasing the biting insects off of him. But for now, I think Glenna and I are going to stick around because they're lying very close to a watering hole here. And who knows what will happen if there's some animals that might want to come and drink. And we'll see if we can maybe get a view of some of the other individuals. Like I said, they are spread out quite far and wide.
Welcome back to And Beyond Ngala, everybody. And these two bulls are still in the watering hole. They are having an absolutely great time, pushing and shoving each other and swimming. I'm going to spend a bit of time just keeping quiet. Keep a good listen out. There might be some hippos that start calling, and listen for the collision of those tusks. amazing when I say listen out for the tusks. The tusks colliding, the two elephants kind of moved away from each other. Typical. But yeah, they're having such a good time in the watering hole. They actually really don't want to leave at all. Keep thinking about maybe going towards the shore and then kind of reversing back into the watering hole and just flopping back down. So I think it's been quite successful at this watering hole. I think I'm going to keep going, try and see if we can't find anything else this afternoon as it starts to cool a bit down.
Look what we have here. Welcome back to Tualu, and we've just come across this group of bachelor eland, and of course there's got to be one wildebeest at the end that thinks and hopes and wishes he could be an eland. He's just following them. They're about to go up and over the dune, but there is a massive male, the second one in that group, just kicking up the sand as they go. 5 beautiful big eland. Look at them go, though. For an animal that's close on a ton in weight, they can seriously move it. Oh, they've already outpaced the poor wildebeest. They've left him behind. I'm going to just go forward so that... oh, no, there's one more coming. There's one more coming. The wildebeest thinks he's in a race. He's ahead. Another big bull at the back. Listen, I don't know if you can hear the clicking of the hooves. The clicking of the knees, actually. Maybe a little bit too far away, it's a bit too windy, but often when you have eland, there's that clicking sound that they make when they walk, and there's been common misconceptions over time as to what makes that clicking sound, and people have said it's the hooves because they're uneven and it's when they touch, but it's actually the way that the tendon slips over the patella, the knee joint, and as an eland grows, they get bigger and bigger, and that clicking sound becomes louder. And it's a way that they can establish dominance amongst them, because whoever's the bigger one will have the loudest click. So from a distance, they'll already know whether there's a dominant bull in the area or not. And also the coloration, you can see that's sort of like a curly forehead. Sometimes it goes to a very dark black, very hairy, as well as... the dewlap, that section of skin that hangs off the neck area, the bigger that is as well, that also shows signs of dominance. So this was a group of bachelor males. There were 6 of them, and one very hopeful wildebeest. So the wildebeest is actually quite smart, because he is on his own, he lives in this area, but sometimes sticking with another group of animals also helps him. They'll be there for being alert and aware, and if they run off, like they did here, most likely because the wind blew from us into their direction, they smelt us, which is why they ran that way, and he decided, well, if they know something's up, I'm also moving with them. So we're just going to wait for that one to cross, and then we'll, try and catch up to them. See, maybe we can get another view. They're just standing to the left of the base of the dune. I agree, everyone, that was really cool. It's so nice when you can see the sand kicking up, that nice red dune sand kicking up as they run. And amazingly fast for an animal their size. And you wouldn't believe that an animal that large can also, from a standing jump, move up and over 2 meters in height. So some of these bushes, it could literally jump over those bushes, generally in a stress situation though, not just for fun. Oh, no, they're leaving us in their dust. There we go. You get them there, Owen. They're just literally going up and over the dune, so we'll have to try and catch them on the other side. There they go, nice little silhouette on the edge of the dune, and up and over they go. So if you stick with us, we'll carry on going up and over the dune and see if we can catch them on the other side. just sometimes in the evening time it's dark and all you hear is that click, click, click coming from that tendon slipping over the knee joint, and you know that there's a relatively large animal on approach. So close on a ton at least, so 1,000 kilograms. That's pretty heavy, heavy size, but they do really, really well out here in these arid environments. Let's see, popping over the dune. Beautiful scenery this afternoon, so we're just cresting over the top of the dune. And see, provided that they haven't, oh no, they're already on their way going up and over the other dune. So there, can you see them? So they're heading up into that Terminalia thicket on the top of the dune. There they go, in the distance. So we don't have a road that's close enough to get closer to them. So we are going to just leave them be. They're going to move off shortly. So that was most likely purely based on the fact that we were on the wrong side of the wind for them. They stood there for literally 2 minutes. They smelt us and they decided that's it, they're getting out of here. So once they've moved far enough away that they feel comfortable, then they'll start settling down, which is pretty much what they're doing now. You can hear the red-crested korhaan calling in the distance, little fawn-coloured lark. So as they head off up and over the dune into the Terminalia thicket, we're going to move on. I'm going to send you to Deerwald with his lions.
We just repositioned a little bit, and we are here with the two youngest individuals of the pride of lions. The one's just gotten up and is walking down into a big dried out watering off to the left hand side. But look at this one. We've got a little termite mound here in front of us, and he's just on the other side of it. And look how heavily he's breathing. Nice full belly, so it's nice and cool, and he's very, very hot with all the digestion that's going on there at the moment. Oh, there he goes, yeah, going to join his brother. And look at that belly there. Oh my goodness, that is full. His brother is actually waiting for him there. They're sticking together. Going all the way down. Look at the little walkway that he's on there. It's a pathway that's been made by the animals walking up and down towards and from the water. Interesting that the sibling is waiting for this one here. See if there's a bit of interaction between them. Just a bit of smelling and slapping happening there. I think all the other lions are sleeping, but these two with their full bellies and it being a little bit cool, they're full of energy. You can see the other lions right down there at the bottom, and those over there look like they are the 3 subadult males. If I just look so like this, the one that's lying with its legs open it's a bit difficult to see, but from where I am now I can see at least 3 females, so I wonder if those are the 3 subadults down there. I think these 2 youngsters are heading in that direction to see if they can maybe go cause some trouble there and go and play with them. See, the one is sitting upright there. Oh yeah, looks like a subadult male that's sitting upright there. Yeah. So you are more than welcome to send us some questions on social media, and if you have any questions on these lions that are here, and what they got up to. Sounds like Glenn and Pete, I think, actually had them, was it Kim, had them on a water carcass not too long ago. Maybe it was yesterday or somewhere around there. Yeah, I don't know if you can hear those birds alarm calling there. There's some rattling testiculars that are alarm calling to these youngsters that have just disappeared over this little crest. Oh, there I can see the youngsters just coming out from where we are. We'll see if we can get a view of them now. They're slowly but surely going towards the subadults that are lying there in the open clearing. Ashma, you're asking if their fur offers any protection from the sun. Yes, I definitely think so. Like most animals, they don't have bare skin, so sunburn is not a real problem with them. It's more their eyes and so on that they have to be careful of in the sun, I guess. And that's why lions will often, and most animals, will try and get out of the sun. But it's more for the heat than anything else, not because of the sun burning them. Look at those two youngsters slowly going in that direction. Let's see what they do. You can see their movements. They're not just going straight there, like stopping and looking every now and then. Not moving as quickly as they were earlier. And what we've seen is with these two and their mother is that they actually don't spend too much time with the rest of the pride. And I wonder if it is because these subadults can bully these youngsters quite a bit. But now it looks like these youngsters are the mischievous ones. Stopping and watching the one that's lying with his legs open like that. You can imagine that's nice and cool, and that individual there, you can almost see the belly, how round it is, trying to open those legs as much as possible and take all the pressure off of the belly there. But for now, I think we are just going to stand by. We might see if we can reposition a little bit and see if we can get a view from the other side of those youngsters and the other lions. And for now, I think we'll take you to Taylor, where she's got a nice and relaxed hippo in her watering hole.
Dear Volt, we are also wearing our patient pants. Does that make sense? Probably doesn't make sense. The heat has got to be. Anyways, yes, you're right. We do have a hippo, but now we've got some reptilian creatures that have joined the hippopotamus. Those are terrapins or terrapins. No, I'm joking. They're actually called terrapins, but terrapin sounds far more fancy. I can't tell you exactly what type of terrapins there are just yet because they're quite far away, and the marsh and the serrated hinge look quite similar. I think the one on the left might be. No, I don't know. It would be nice if they were closer to us and we could get a close-up on their faces, then you can sort of tell the difference between them. I always like to look at the part of the body that you see the most, which is normally their heads just snorkeling above the surface of the water. And with a marsh terrapin, if you look below their sort of nostrils and their upper lip, it's quite white, whereas with a serrated hinge terrapin, it's got like these lots of little lines. So for me, when they're hidden away and just their heads poking up, that's the easiest way to sort of tell the difference. But in this dam, we have both the marsh and the serrated hinged terrapin. Now, that hippopotamus is providing the perfect place for the terrapins to sunbathe, and I wouldn't be surprised if it gets a few more visitors coming to join it up on top of its back. Sometimes you'll see, oh, there's a leopard. There, by that massive leadwood, it's just climbed down the tree. What? Huh? Was it in the tree the whole time? No, surely not. What? guys, no, this is crazy. I'm not even joking. It did look like a leopard cub. It looked like a young leopard just climbed down that tree. But we've been sitting here the entire time, and I've stared, I kid you not, everywhere. So I don't know if while we've been talking with the hippo, this thing went up the tree a little bit and then down. I'm just going to keep my voice down and see. Maybe it's thirsty and it's going to come up over the top of the dam wall and have a drink. Unfortunately, there isn't really a way for us to get up and look down into the drainage system. It's actually quite a steep drop. That is weird. Hey? Fascinating. I actually thought I saw this tail and I was like, oh, maybe it's a rock monitor. Not a rock monitor. I'm so confused right now. So I'm kind of in like two minds as to what to do. Do we sit here or do we try and go around and get a view? But you see, the leopards and priders are not particularly relaxed. They are a little bit on the nervous side. If it is pixie pans, youngsters, then maybe they'll be okay. But like I said, we can't really get a view. But because it has been such a hot day, I think at some point the leopard should come down and have a drink. Oh my goodness, how random. Sorry, terrapins and hippo. I don't even understand where that thing was sitting. I can't believe that. Anyways, it's just amazing how these animals are master of camouflage. Crazy. And there's been go-away birds and all sorts of other creatures moving around here. Oh, terrapins, hold on. No. Yes, you're going to have to climb all the way back over. See, I suppose hippos are fairly heat tolerant because they sit out in the sun all day long. But remember, most of their body is submerged in the water, so they're keeping cool that way. Sorry, I'm just looking to see what's actually going on, because now they're impala running. But I don't know if it's the boys just chasing one another. Sorry, I'm very distracted now because I also want to see if this leopard cub, or it looked like a leopard cub, climbs back over the dam wall. Do you know what, Seb? I think we're going to go and investigate. I don't know how yet. I haven't quite figured that part out. But yes, they are very much used to the warm sort of weather. Okay. We're going to drive because we're probably going to lose signal, unfortunately. But I would like to maybe just try and poke my nose behind this dam wall and see if we can. But anyways, off you go to have a look at some birds.
Welcome back to And Beyond Ngala, everybody. Now, just sticking with the plan from this afternoon, kind of hanging around these smaller watering holes, looking in some of the shady areas, maybe for a cat that might be sleeping in the heat of the day. But as we came towards this watering hole, we came across this little African jacana, a beautiful little bird, and one we actually don't see too often. But we had quite a lot of early rain, and that's filled up the seasonal pan, and you can see all sorts of almost like lilies and plants on the surface, which this jacana is kind of walking on. You see how it keeps putting its beak or bill right into the water, or running across the water there, almost chasing insects. I mean, that's its predominant food. You'll see it hunting from the top there, pecking quite frequently, in fact, picking small little insects off of the top of the water. So might be feeding on some spiders and even some small fish, although I don't think there's too many small fish in here. And we actually don't see them all too often here at And Beyond Ngala. It's an incredibly abundant bird in certain areas, but they tend to follow the water. And if there's lots of rain and lots of water hanging around, such as in this area, and because of our early rain, we have got lots of water around, that's what's brought the presence of this jacana here. And it's quite interesting. It's completely on its own. It's not unusual to see it on its own. You'll sometimes see it in pairs or even in bigger groups. But maybe, because this is the first one that I've seen this year, here, maybe in the next few days, there'll be a couple more that come and join. And they'll take advantage of this seasonal pan with all these flowers growing on the top. It gives it good cover, walking on the top. You see how it kind of chased those insects occasionally, running quite quickly on the top of them. See, it's quite busy though, hey? Walking on the top there, you'll even see some people say it's almost like the jacanas run on water. They can move quite quickly and it does look like they're running on water. Got very webbed feet, but they do tend to stick to the foliage, which creates a sort of buoyancy which makes it them able to actually walk over these plants and look for food. They generally prefer the more shallow waters as well. You won't necessarily find them around the bigger watering holes like that big watering hole that we came from now. There'll be presence of all sorts of animals which will chase them away. Bigger animals. It'll also, their food is predominantly insects that will be hatching in these small little mud wallows. It's far more quiet, far more peaceful. This is where we, I picked that looked like maybe a mayflower dragonfly that was coming towards it. So I'm going to keep going around this watering hole, seeing if maybe a more secretive leopard might have come down and had a drink over here today. In the meantime, I'll send you over somewhere else to another live location.
We're enjoying a very intimate moment here with this water monitor and the Mulwati. Looking for a tasty treat, I think. This is so cool. It's such a large individual. It's over a meter. It's maybe even like 1.3 meters. We usually just see them by the dam, and this feels like such a special moment. Look how it's smelling. Everything with its tongue, touching its tongue everywhere. They're very, very good diggers. That's because these guys love eggs. Oh, they love an egg. They're actually known to distract crocodiles away from the nesting site and then come scurrying back and scoffing as many eggs as they can. I'm just so interested to see what it is that it's going to find. Smelling. What can you smell? This is so amazing. Oh my goodness, this is amazing. It's obviously going to make its way up to Twin Dams. They've got really large claws that enable them to dig like that. They'll go after anything. They have a really huge variety of prey items. Fish, frogs, other reptiles, birds. whatever they can get their mouths on. Little insects and vertebrates. Maybe a millipede, even carrion. I didn't even get to see what it was. All I heard was the squeak and the gulp. Oh my goodness. FC, did you manage to see what that was? Anybody? Hey, squeak and gulp down. Lovely. FC is on it. They said they could hardly tell either, but they're gonna try and see if they'll be able to identify what it is. It was so quick. That was so quick. Well, I guess if you're gonna open up the ground to get something, you gotta be quicker than it is, otherwise it's gonna run out. Nice. FC says that it looked like a frog. Well, that must have been particularly juicy on a day like this. So amazing to watch this. I'm quite surprised that it's out. If there was anywhere it was going to be out, it would be here in the Mulwati because of the shade and coolness compared to the rest of the reserve. But if I were it, I would be chilling out in the water where it's nice and cool. So it must be very hungry. Can you imagine that how well developed those olfactory senses are for it to be able to detect the scent of that frog from the surface? It's amazing how it touches its tongue to the ground all the time, searching. I smelled something. Exciting. It's like, what's it gonna get next? You know, it has that typical forked tongue, and the reason that is so that when a smell is taken in, it can determine the direction of that smell very, very quickly. Because sensors on each one of those forks will be able to detect more or less of that chemical, of that scent. And the side that detects more, that's the side that's going to move towards. It's very clever. Very simple and very clever. being able to make a comparison in nature is one of the earliest forms of shall we say, nervous system development. To be able to take a sample now and a sample in a minute and see whether this awful chemical that I don't want is getting higher in concentration or less in concentration, and then make movement based on that. That has existed in almost all animals. I mean, that's how E. coli bacteria navigate. They just take what they know now compared to what they knew a minute ago, and then based on whether that is getting stronger or lighter, will make a movement. And that takes a lot of coordination. Just shows you how special everything is. Gosh, this is amazing. Still sniffing about. I might watch him for just a little bit longer. But for now, I think we'll turn around and reposition so we'll get a better view.
Join our Explorers program so we can keep on sharing nature with the world. For a monthly subscription, you will have the opportunity to win fantastic Wild Earth expeditions, have access to an animal identification app, receive weekly highlights from our shows, and much more. All the money will go to keeping these live safaris on air, which in turn connects a global population with nature.
My name is James Hendry, and I work here at Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands on the western fringes of the Greater Kruger National Park. My favorite part of getting questions from viewers is that we get to have long and varied discussions about all sorts of different aspects of nature. Because our audience comes from all over the world, it's very special to have different perspectives from everywhere. If you want to submit a question on Wild Earth, you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to the Live Safari page and submit your question beneath the live feed.
Welcome to my car. This is Wendy, and she's my favorite. She would love to have your name engraved on her so you can be with her every single time she goes on a safari here in Djuma. If you become a Wild Earth Explorer, you will have the opportunity to buy an engraved tag which we will attach to her. We will make sure to send you a digital picture to show you exactly where you are sitting on her. You will have front row seat in every single sighting.
Join us around the fire as we have our very first Wild Earth Explorers Fireside Chat.
And what that means is that if you are an explorer, we're inviting you to come and join us so we can chat about the greatest highlights of 2020.
We will be chatting about our favorite characters and what they have been up to during the course of this year.
And if you would like to join us, head over to our Explorers page and subscribe. Don't miss out. This Fireside Chat will be on the 13th of December at 7:30 p.m. Central African Time, straight after Sunset Safari.
As you can see, we're still with our little boy. He's been sleeping a lot. He's just woken up right now. Shame, my boys. It's a tough day today. It seems like it. It's been warm, but it's cooled off a little bit now. It's not nearly as bad as what we had a little bit earlier in the day.
The heat wave now start to move straight.
Sorry, my radio is on. The guys have found Andy's cub again, which is nice. I wonder if those two are going to move on to Chitwa at some point, with the cub. It'll be interesting. We were talking about it this morning as to whether or not this guy and Tandy's cub will be able to kind of, if they met up, what would happen. And it's about time that both of them get names, because it's awfully confusing referring to cubs all the time. I can imagine for a lot of you it just gets kind of all turned around. I was actually trying to explain it to somebody today, that, it's Thandi, and then Thandi's daughter is Kuchava. This is Kuchava's son, but Thandi has a son. Tlalamba is also related to Thandi. So it's like this complicated mix of leopards here at the moment. It can sometimes be all a little bit confusing. So hopefully this guy, he's due a name, so they normally get named at a year. So I did ask the guys yesterday, and they said that they do have a meeting soon and they'll discuss it. But because it's been locked down and it's been a bit slow, and a lot of the guides are not here, they'd kind of delayed it a little bit, and so we'll see what happens with that. I'm sure they will give him a name fairly soon, which will help us just to be able to, refer to a leopard rather than trying to kind of figure out exactly what's going on. Now, you see every now and then he'll respond by lifting his head when the radio goes off. Now, there's a very good reason why I've left the radio on. It's so that he gets used to that sound of people talking. So when we're sitting here, unlike now, I'm not talking at all. We just sit in silence generally, or Theo and I have a little conversation, but we're not making a lot of noise. But if the radio is on, the beeping, the kind of talking, that's all game drive sounds. And the more he hears it and nothing's happening to him, the more he's habituating. So it's a very common technique to use when you're habituating quite nervous leopards, is to park a car if they've got a kill and leave the car there with the radio on, and just let people talk on the radio all day long, and the beeping on and off and the talking, eventually that animal starts to understand, okay, this vehicle and this noise and the chatter of people is not something that's stealing my kill, it's not chasing me, it's not hurting me, and they then start to relax. So it's a very kind of good reason why it's on. So I do apologize if you're hearing it beeping in the background. Unfortunately, the beep, as much as we can turn it down, doesn't turn off on the particular radio that I'm using. So it does make a bit of a noise, so I do apologize about that. You can see he's just popped his head up now. When he puts his head up, he's kind of well hidden behind a bush, unfortunately. I think it's Anne Beeld. I don't know if I got that wrong or right. I do apologize if I've butchered that. Why don't leopards live in groups or hunt in packs or prides? Well, because otherwise they would fulfill a very similar role or niche that lions do. What you find out here is that animals are finding a specific groove in which they are able to survive. And so that might be, a solitary ambush predator like they are. If they were to be in groups, they would be hunting larger animals, which would put them in direct competition with lions. And being smaller than lions, they would then, unfortunately, probably get badly bullied and even killed quite regularly by them. They'd just be outcompeted, mostly. So you've got that. Their coat pattern doesn't really lend itself to being in places where groups of animals thrive. If you look at cheetah in coalitions, lion in prides, they typically operate, yes, they go through thickets, but they operate a lot of the time in more open kind of terrain. And that spotted coat, like it is there, is really well designed for thick, dense areas where they're able to blend in very, very well, and they can then, like I say, ambush. So they've got their own little niche. If they were too big, grouping together, like I say, it's just too much competition from other animals. So wild dogs, hyenas, lions, they're all going to fit into that same category. And a leopard, because of its size and its general build, would probably be outcompeted by all of those animals in the areas that they would need to operate in order to find the food that they need. It would be cool to see, though. A leap of leopards is always a nice thing. You can imagine a coalition, I think, would be the coolest thing. Imagine like a Tamba, Hosana, Tortoise Pan, Sava, Tavangumi, like they're all the same age, those boys. Imagine them all together as like a coalition of 7 males roaming around. It'd be pretty spectacular to see. But obviously that doesn't happen as much as we wish, these kinds of things. And it's not beyond the realms of possibility. Who knows? I mean, we've seen wildlife change, adapt to circumstance, and kind of move with the ever-changing environments that they live in. So maybe in the future it's possible. It just hasn't been documented yet. But in saying that, we document new things with wildlife daily. There recently was an amazing sighting in the Masai Mara with a leopard, and as far as everybody that was there and everybody else that has kind of seen this, it's the first documented case of a leopard hoisting an ostrich. It was just the leg of the ostrich, granted, because an ostrich is a big bird. But yes, there was a hoisting of the ostrich itself. Now you see how much more aware he is when the wind blows. You see that wind gusted, and he all of a sudden got very, very, very nervous. So that's because when the wind blows like this, their senses are becoming depraved, particularly the sense of hearing, and the smell sense is circling all over the place. So they become a lot more aware. When you get huge winds blowing, like all of a sudden, you can see he's not nearly as comfortable as what he was just now. So this is going to be an ultimate test for him as to how he feels about us. And I'll tell you this, if he starts to move away from us and he starts to show signs of being shy, we will be leaving him immediately, because it'll just be undoing all the work that we've been trying to do today. So spending all these hours in the hot sun, if he starts to show that he's nervous in this wind and we pursue him, all that's doing is causing a negative response leopard rather than a positive one. And so we'll then let him do his thing. If he walks and he doesn't worry about us and he doesn't trot and he kind of just walks slowly, then it's okay. But if he runs, then we're going to be a little bit more aware of what we're doing. But back to the ostrich thing, is that so no one has, as far as we can find out, has recorded an ostrich carcass being taken up a tree by a leopard. There has been recorded predations of ostrich by a leopard, but never a hoisting. And so these are things that we're learning constantly within the natural world, is that the animals are adaptable and they will be opportunistic according to what is presented in front of them. And so who can say, maybe in years to come coalitions of leopards will make sense, but for now it doesn't, and therefore we don't see them in groups together or prides or whatever you want to call it. All right, so we'll sit with him because he's just giving us a beautiful look at the moment. In the meantime, let's send you across to Deerwilt with his lions.
So we've repositioned ourselves to the lions that we saw earlier, where the two youngsters were on their way to. And you can see they're spread out and sleeping all over the place. And there's actually a white rhino bull that is feeding on the lush green grass and vegetation that's growing down here in this dried out watering hole that we're standing at. And it's a little bit difficult to see that it's a bull now, but we had him actually scent mark, so spray urine onto some of the small bushes there and mark his territory, so that immediately told us that it's a bull. Actually standing a bit on a rise here, so it's a beautiful view from up here as well. But that white rhino bull has literally not picked up his head once, just feeding as he's going. He's just picked up his head now, and he's actually picking up the pace a bit. The wind started blowing a little bit. I wonder if you can smell something. His tail's just curled up a little bit. See what he's doing there. Almost like he's just wants to scent mark, and the lioness is actually at the bottom is looking towards him. Bit of movement and sound coming from that side that caught their attention. What a beautiful scene here. These big open plains in the back with this big dried out watering hole. Flash flooding. We need a lot of rain at once so that all the rivers can come down and fill this watering hole up. That's nice and cool. There you can see the rhino curling up his tail now. He just does it every now and then, like a little bit, and then he stops. And it's almost like he smells some place that maybe he wants to scent mark, and then he stops. But it seems like his head is down now and he's just feeding. You can imagine this black cotton soil down in this watering hole has a lot of nutrients that's been washed in here from rain over the years. So the grass is nice and nutritious around this area. he's in two minds if he wants to scent mark and keep on moving and try and patrol his territory, or if he wants to stop here and have a few bites of grass. There you can see just curling up his tail. I don't know if you could see there, it's a bit behind the grass now, but he was just spraying some urine there onto a few thick little bushes there. And he'll do that onto these little bushes just because it's a little bit out in the open as well. The scent can be caught by the wind, carry it a little bit further. Yeah, he's picking up the pace now. He's moved quite a distance already. You can also see the way that he's moving, head down, low to the ground as he's smelling and walking and patrolling his territory now.
Back on the right.
Now he is slowly heading off out of this dried out watering hole. These lions have settled down. I think they were a little bit interested in his movements earlier, but now that he's moved away, they are settling down quite nicely. So now that we're a little bit closer, a bit easier to see the different individuals here. But it seems like it is the two sub-adult males here on the left, the two youngsters we were filming earlier, and then the mother on the right hand side there. But while these lions are sleeping and not up too much, Glenn and I are going to see if we can get another view of that male we were with earlier. But you will be heading towards a jackal.
So this jackal is getting up to lots of mischief. We've had at least two. There he pops out the bush at the back on the right-hand side. He's been dodging, ducking and diving behind the little bushes. What we've come across here, one of the guides actually located it a little bit earlier, is an ostrich carcass. But what they had on the carcass was a male cheetah, a little bit skittish with the wind, a single male cheetah, interestingly enough. And he ran off to the top of the dunes. We haven't managed to get visual of him yet, but we're definitely going to stand by and see if he decides to come down a little bit later. But there's definitely two jackal that have been running around back and forth. They are so tempted by that large meal that's waiting, but they're very, very hesitant to come down. They keep doing sort of large loops and disappearing, exactly like he's just gone and done there, behind the bush. So the sly, skulking jackal has just disappeared behind the bush. It is still quite hot, so they will also be happy to wait until it gets a little bit cooler to start feeding on that carcass in the open. So if we pan across to the carcass, what you're seeing there is the underside of the ostrich, and you can actually see the thigh. It looks a little bit muddy and dirty on the thigh. And those feathers say it's a female ostrich. And yeah, circumstances would suggest that that individual male cheetah killed it, which is quite an impressive feat considering ostriches can weigh up to 90 kilos. So much bigger than a cheetah, but he's managed to be successful. We've been looking up on the dunes. So apparently he walked up towards the dunes and lay down in the shade, but we haven't managed from our position now to see him, so we're just standing by to see if he thinks he might come back down. It might take a bit of time, especially if he's a nervous animal. If we just sit quietly and wait, he might consider coming in. If anyone's got any questions, don't forget to hashtag WildEarth, and we're happy to answer your questions. So I think I got the name there as Maple. Do jackals eat ostriches? Yeah, jackals are not fussy. They'll eat most things. They are scavengers. They're actually also quite capable of hunting for themselves. But jackal definitely will take a nice bite at free food. Now, ostrich skin is also going to be quite tough to bite through, so we don't know how much of the carcass the cheetah's actually got into if he's opened up any of the meat, and that might be why the jackals are hesitant to come, because it's actually quite difficult for them to tear off pieces of meat. With the ostrich, they try and discard the feathers. They're just interested in the meaty parts, and that's one quite big thunder-thighed drumstick. If you went to your local KFC and ordered an ostrich drumstick, it wouldn't fit the KFC bucket, that's for sure. And later on in the evening, those jackals, I can see one coming on the horizon there from the right-hand side, trotting across the dune. I don't know if you've got him yet, Owen. He's coming. Further to the right. He's coming in. He's on the base of the dune. He's going to go past this green bush in front of us. He's going to trot out exactly where that other one was, behind the bush. We'll just see him coming in. So when it starts getting darker, the jackal will actually start calling and just announcing to all other jackal family mates that there's free food here. And it can get to, I've seen 14 jackal on a carcass before, and then they have this whole dominance display and hierarchy, and they yip at each other and their tails are flared up, and the more dominant ones get to eat first, the others have to wait. So they'll absolutely start coming in as it gets a bit darker. By tomorrow morning, that carcass will mostly be bones. There's actually 2 little meerkats that have just snuck in here on the base of this bush to the left. 2 on the outside edge there. Oh no, they're sneaking around on the out. There we go. You see them? There. No. Maybe they'll pop into the shot. Those will be completely unknown meerkats. There was at least 2 of them. Some of you were asking and have been asking about updates on the rock stars, and having chatted to the habituator, the situation with the rock stars at the moment, they're right in front here at this bush here. They're standing in line with the ostrich. So the update with the rock stars is that they've actually been taken over by a new alpha male, and he is unknown to us. So whenever he sees humans approaching, he sounds the alarm, and of course the rest of the group, because he's the alpha, they respond to that. So they are quite skittish at the moment, that every time the alpha male sees humans, he makes a sound and they tend to go back into the burrow. But hopefully over the next week or so, they seem to be a little bit better in the mornings. We may be able to catch up with them. They do have new pups, but they're still hiding below ground at the moment. So just for those of you that were looking for a rock star update, is those 3, you just see that body language. They've seen that jackal. The jackal are running up and down on the dunes at the back. And those 3 little meerkats, they'll have a specific alarm for a jackal, and it's actually like a little bark, and they bark, and they all the whole little group gathers together and then goes underground. So David is asking how long until vultures spot the carcass. So it'll be different in different areas. We don't have very, very large colonies of vultures in these areas like the Kruger National Park or some of the areas in Phinda, but a vulture will have to be flying over on the thermals. As soon as they see that, they'll start dropping down to the carcass, and the other vultures will start seeing that signal and start coming down. Don't see any. I saw earlier this morning, I saw a group of about 7 or 8 up on a thermal, but I haven't seen any flying over. So the jackal and the cheetah better hope that they get a bit more of that ostrich before the vultures come in. Those meerkat are incredibly suspicious. The jackal's just far enough at the moment not to be a threat to them, but because it is a predator that does normally threaten them, they want to be on high alert, especially because they're most likely at the burrow that they'd like to sleep at this evening. So they're going to do a little bit of maintenance, but they're not going to move too far from there. I just see the 3. They just won't take their eyes off it. Oh. And then they saw a bird fly over, and they just had a little spark. Look, there we go. Oh, they're moving. So always a nice opportunity to try and find a last-minute snack before heading to bed. So we're just going to sit here and wait and see what comes to the carcass. So just like our little meerkats are looking for a snack, so Trishala also has a creature looking for a snack.
Another snack is exactly what this monitor is looking for. We've just stayed and watched it because it's such an interesting thing. We don't get to see this often. Whenever we see them, it's in the dam or just basking. And here it's actively, searching for some food. And I think it's an incredible sighting. So I didn't want to just leave after one segment, especially since it's still going at it. At the one point, it had dug such a deep hole that it had buried its back legs. Just like that, but even deeper. You can hear that the wind is picked up as well. It sounds lovely. There's something very, very nice about this evening. Despite the day being blistering hot. Look at it go. Oh. It reminds me of a kid at the beach, digging a hole and making sand castles. Nothing? Wow, wow. Oriella, you'd like to know what their main predator is. In fact, we were just having a chat about this because actually, between segments, and Camops and I, we do talk about stuff, and we were just chatting about what do we think would take it. I mean, this is a big individual. When it came a little bit closer, I would say it was actually maybe just under 1.5 meters, maybe even 1.5 meters. It just looks up at a vervet monkey, but now the monkey's off. And it's quite stocky. Now the ranges for adults are quite, it's very, very wide. Some people say the largest specimen is about 20 kgs or so, but others say that the smallest adult is less than a kg. So obviously, it depends on a lot of things. But why I'm saying that to you is because aerial predators are a problem. But you're going to need something quite large and adapted to picking up large things that are the size of themselves or larger. So for me, that would be fish eagle. Fish eagle is like 2.5 kgs, and they can lift 2 kgs of weight. Maybe a fish eagle would take it, because I don't think this is a 20 kg individual. This is more likely maybe about an 8 kg individual. Maybe even a tad less. So that, I think it could be attacked by a fish eagle and then consumed a little bit, then taken up. Crocodiles will have a good go at them, especially if they're after their eggs. Crocodile would have a huge go at them. But at this age, at this girth and length, I would say that aerial predators are a little less likely. More likely, or most likely, are things like leopards, crocodiles. That's going to be a good snack for them. A leopard, definitely, I would say. I can imagine Tingana with one of them. Honey badger, do you remember when Steve had that awesome sighting with a honey badger and a rock monitor, and how they kept chasing the honey badger chasing the rock monitor, and it just kept going on and on in a frenzy. I will say, though, that this individual is a little bit bigger than that rock monitor, so maybe it'll be tougher, but that doesn't mean that a honey badger wouldn't have a go at it. And they're quite vicious. A couple people were a little bit foolish, or foolish enough to try and keep them as pets. And when you get on the wrong side of them, you will get very badly injured. They have sharp teeth. They're not very large teeth, but they're sharp. And they have long, sharp claws. Apart from that, they are similar to a honey badger in that they're not a quitter. They're not going to give up. They want to get out, they want to wriggle out, they're going to scratch you to the death to wriggle out. It's starting to cool down now. So I am going to move along the Mawati to the hyena den, and I can take off my ridiculous Mexican hat that I found in camp that is actually keeping me very cool. So I'm going to send you over to Tristan while I do all of those things.
Well, our patience has paid off, because I can't tell you how excited I am. We sat with him, we got baked a little bit, we had horrible views, and our time with him has led to us sitting right next to him, out in the open, on a mound, and the most beautiful pose ever, and a completely relaxed cat. Look at that. His legs are kicked out to the side, paws over the front. He's not worried about us at all, which is super, super cool. Every now and then he lifts his head and he gets this little glint of the afternoon sun reflecting in his eyes, which makes him look so beautiful. He's magnificent. And like I say, it's exciting because sometimes you sit here and you think, well, you know, maybe it's not worth the hours and that we're not going to kind of get anything from it. But then something like this happens, and it doesn't look like much. I understand that it's just a leopard on a mound, and some people won't get that. But the progress of that right there compared to this morning when we arrived, when he was just kind of behind bushes, not really wanting to come out, is massive. I mean, it's an epic, epic sighting. That's 10 out of 10 leopard sighting anywhere you go in the world, and would be considered a hugely relaxed individual. So for us to be able to have this is the most exciting thing. And for him to look, he's even turning his back on us at times, which is crazy while I'm talking. So I'm so happy. It's kind of reward for putting in a little bit of effort when something like this happens. And it was quite funny because he was super he's got his mom's and his grandmother's trait a little bit in this regard, because he got up from where we had him just now and he started walking. And we gave him a bit of space and we let him walk for a little bit, just as far as we could just see through the thickets, and we followed like that because I didn't want him to get upset with the wind and everything else. And then we drove, we lost him, and we drove, and we came right past this mound. And I said to Thea, I'm pretty sure he's going to be on this mound. And we checked the mound, there was nothing. Came through here, couldn't find him, and I thought to myself, there's no ways we could have missed him in the circle that we did. And as we were kind of going away from this area, I looked back, and there were these two little ears on the top of the mound. So he kind of just sneaked up on top. And this is how these leopards are able to lose you like this. I mean, it was literally in 2 seconds. We couldn't see him, and he was gone. And I think he was just behind a bush, and as we came around the mound, we didn't see him, and then he went up the mound after we were gone. But either way, he's stayed on the mound when we've come back. And he's giving us this magnificent sighting. And like I say, that little bit of light that's just catching that left eye makes for a pretty picture, that's for sure. Now, a lot of you will be interested in spot patterns because obviously we kind of ID cats sometimes by spot patterns. So if you look on his left muzzle, he's got 3 quite big spots, and then there's kind of 2 smaller ones that might or might not be counted in his whisker line spot pattern. So if I show you what I'm talking about, I'm just going to try and see if I can show you there, those 2 little whiskers. You might have seen the little green light. That's what I was talking about, is circling that whisker area. There's kind of 2 behind there, so he could either be a 3 or 5 depending on who's calling it, and the right side looks like 3. So I would go 3-3 personally. Those 2 little ones are a little bit far back for me to kind of use as whisker spots, but some might include them, and then in which case it'd be a 3-5. You can see the 2 little spots that I'm talking about, but the 3 prominent ones above the whisker line, and then there's 3 prominent ones on the other side. A lot of the leopards in this area are 3-3 spot patterns. It's quite a common thing, but I'm so excited about this sighting. I know it doesn't seem like much, but it for me is epic. So 50, you're asking what's the difference between a jaguar and a... Oh, look at that light on him. That is magnificent. Wow. So 50, jaguars and leopards are quite distinct. The size is one thing. So a female jaguar is the size of a male leopard. Also, what you're going to have is you're going to have a difference in the rosettes. The rosettes of jaguars tend to be bolder, bigger, thicker black on them. I find them that they look kind of very, very, very bold marked compared to the leopards. There's also like this little black spot in the middle of the rosette that I don't notice on a leopard at all. Are you hiding in the grass now? But we can still you. Okay, I'm going to try and reposition just to get that sun on his face. He should be fine if I just reverse back nice and slowly. Wait, let's just see where he's going to go. Just hold on before we do anything. Just want to see if he sits there. There we go. He's going to sit down for us. Okay. I think it's because this wind is blowing so much. He's gotten up on the mound because it's much safer up there than it would be down on the ground. When the wind blows like this, he can see 360 degrees around him, and he doesn't have to worry nearly as much about potential predators surprising him because he can see. He wants to see if Mom comes. Hopefully Mom will come this way and we'll find him. It'll be nice. It'll be really nice to see the reunion, particularly if it's up on the mound itself. Should be beautiful with this afternoon sunlight kind of shining down this way. We should get a really nice gap. There'll be a lot of grass in front of his face, but the light itself will be really, really pretty. There we go. Are you going to sit in the grass? Okay, that's fine. You can camouflage up there. He's sitting in the grass. And you can see how well he does camouflage. If his ears were to fold flat against his head and you were driving past, you would miss that quite easily. Even from there, you can't really see it nicely. And then where he kind of puts his head up and yawns, do you start to pick him up. Hello, boy. Look at that light. A little gold tinge that's hitting him at the moment. It's gotten a little bit muted in the last 10 minutes. It was beautiful and bright just now. But it's muted a little bit now with the kind of cloud that's just passing in front of him. That's very cool. I'll continue my jaguar differences just now. We're going to kind of just see where he goes and what he gets up to before then.
So we've also been tracking a leopard this afternoon. There were tracks that were on top of a vehicle, tracks from this morning. It's quite interesting to see a leopard actually covering such big distance in the heat of the day. But while we're on the search, I'm just going to spend a moment listening to the sounds around us and watching the sun as it starts to make its way down. So I don't know if you heard that elephant in the background. The number of elephants in the eastern part of the reserve where these tracks of the leopards were going this afternoon are incredible. They've been moving between watering holes, and all these elephant tracks have made it quite tricky following up on this leopard. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue down towards the riverbed, try and see if we can't spot any tracks in the riverbed, see a direction as to where they're going, and see if we can't find a leopard for ourselves this afternoon.
So our update is that there isn't really much of an update. Nothing much has been happening other than these little meerkats in the front scuttling around. They go a little bit further away, then they think they see the jackal, then they run back to the burrows. So they're doing a little bit of maintenance, and then they look like they want to move a bit, and then they just keep coming back. So the jackal have definitely got them on edge. We haven't had visual of a jackal for a while. I think that they're just lying down in the shade, biding their time till it gets a little bit cooler, maybe a little bit darker. And also no update at this stage or any movement that we can see where there's cheetah possibilities. So it sounds like the male cheetah moved off up and over the dunes there, where there's this nice silver terminalias on the top of the dune. And he's possibly moved up and over onto the other side. So at this stage, we're just going to sit tight, sit quiet. We don't want to make the cheetah skittish and move further away, and we also just want to sit we're far enough away that we do feel that if we're here long enough and quiet enough, he may have the confidence to come back. That meerkat keeps checking around. He's checking left, right, just to be sure what the jackal are up to. You can actually start hearing in the background, a little bit early, but the barking geckos have already started. It's that little which is quite, they generally wait until the sun goes down, maybe just a little bit impatient for the day, but they have already started as well, one of the nice sounds of the Kalahari. You can just see how the wind hasn't changed much. It's still pretty strong coming in from the south. So we're going to send you with this wind back to Djuma with Trishala.
Oh, Deirdre, you sent all the wind this way. Look at the way this Wahlberg's eagle's nest is swaying in that wind. Last time we were here, the chick was seen, but we couldn't see it. But luckily some of you managed to see it. It can be very difficult sometimes with the sun and all of that on our screens. It was right at the edge of our screen, so I'm so glad that we know that the Wahlberg's eagle chick is there. So we're just waiting to see if we'll see it again. The female just came through, and she called for a little bit, but the chick didn't pick up its head. So I'm hoping and hoping. And with the wind, it seems like every little thing is making a movement and making me think that it's the chick. But not. I want to make the last hour and a bit of the drive, baby drive. Hopefully we'll see this chick. And then we'll go over to the hyena den. As usual, play it safe. See if June's around. If she is, we'll keep back a bit. If not, we'll go in as normal, as usual, and have some fun time with the cubs. Although, I need to see June's little cub before I leave. So we're going to make an extra effort with all the care and consideration that we have to offer June. But we still want to see the cub. Look at this wind. Oh well, last time it was up, it was when the adult was around, so perhaps it's not feeling as secure just yet. And also when the adult was around, it didn't even pick up its head, so maybe somebody's having a bit of a nap. With that said, I think let's move on. We have been sitting here for a bit hoping for it to come out. And let's go to the den. That's one of the adults calling. Oh, there we go. There we go. Oh, there we go. When the adult called, it lifted up its head. Hello, puppet. Oh. Come on, show yourself again. Oh, was that not the cutest? Oh my goodness. Come on, adult, call again. I want to see your baby. Whew. Well, you know what? I'm satisfied. I got a good look at that chick. I hope you all did too. Right in the middle of that nest, picking its head up. That was amazing. That makes me so happy. Yay. Alright, now I can very happily and with much satisfaction move off to the den. I'm going to send you over to Tristan and his leopard. I suppose they're both chilling on this wonderful evening.
We are chilling. He's now chilling in the most funny spot. He's being a little clown now, which is what I was hoping for. But he's kind of got himself on a down slope, where his paws are pushing him kind of up the termite mound, and there's this little face peering through this long grass. And he kind of falls asleep and then starts almost slipping down the mound and has to kind of shuffle himself backwards a little bit, just to stay up there. Why are you lying like that? There's such a kind of big area on top there, and he would have been able to curl up in a little ball up there. No one would have been able to see him, but he's decided that this is how he wants to sit, which is fine by me because it's a pretty cool view. It's a kind of, I don't know, it's got a leopardy feel to it, doesn't it? The way he's kind of staring out through the long grass. It's something that would give you chills if you were to walk by and just kind of see those eyes through the grass. Looking at you. Not that he would stay up there. He'd probably back himself into the grass and sit flat on top if you had to walk past you, or run down the back without you even knowing about it. But just now we were talking about jaguars and leopards and the differences, and I didn't quite get as far as I wanted to, but essentially size is one thing, spot pattern is slightly different, tail length is also very different. Jaguars' tails tend to be much shorter and stouter. They're not nearly as I find them not nearly as fluffy and thick as what you see from a leopard's tail, or as long in relation to the size of the body. And then basically, like I said, paw size, ear size, those kinds of things are all pretty much the same. And then distribution is the other side of it. Jaguars really only in the Amazon basin. You do get them kind of going into other little parts kind of off the Amazon basin, but they really are quite heavily persecuted anywhere where there's farmland. So their numbers are pretty much restricted, whereas leopards are quite spread out across Asia and Africa. But if you see them side by side, you can't mistake them. There was a really cool photo. Now, unfortunately, I was just stung by a bee, which is not ideal. So that's not great. There was a bee that just stung me on my finger. Naughty bee. If you have a look here, you can see, I'm sorry that it's my middle finger, it's not going to be pointed in the right direction, but it's in the most delightful spot. This is going to be a pain in my backside over the course of the next few days, but if you have a look here, there is the sting right there, in the nice join of my finger, so that's going to be super cool. That should swell and be nice and itchy at some point. Luckily I'm not allergic to bees, so it's not really a big problem, but yes. Bee, why? Why did you do that to me? I'm going to try and scrape that out quickly and get rid of it, because I don't really want the stinger in me anymore. Okay, I think we got it all out, which is good. Shame. I feel bad now because that bee, unfortunately, is not going to survive, because when they sting you like that, the stinger basically pulls some of the innards out, which is not good. The bee can't survive from that. So I always feel super bad when bees sting somebody and die. Their numbers are low as it is. So we don't really want bees to be disappearing and stinging people and dying. So it's not ideal at all. Sorry, little bee. Didn't mean for you to get on my finger and for me to close my hand. I didn't even notice it was there, to be honest with you. These things sometimes happen, unfortunately. But back to the jaguars, as I was saying, I mean, they really are. There was a really cool picture I saw the other day of them side by side. It was really cool to kind of see the two differences, and they had sort of back profiles of them, so a jaguar sitting facing away and a leopard sitting facing away, and then two side profiles, and they kind of matched the two photos, and you could really clearly see all the differences between them. And I must admit, jaguar is like one of the cats that is on top of my list. I mean, snow leopard is on top, and then jaguar sits a very close second. I'm desperate to go and see the jaguars. I was hoping to go potentially this year, but obviously with all that's going on, that wasn't going to happen, and it looks like next year won't be possible either at this stage. So it'll have to be a 2022 mission to go see them. They're one of those kind of dream cats to go and see. Eventually I will do it. I've said this before, but I'm eventually going to try and figure out a way to try and go and see if I can find all of the leopard species of the world in a single year. That's going to be a mission for one day, and it doesn't have to be just kind of leopard subspecies. It can be the leopards plus clouded leopard, snow leopard, and then the other trip that I want to do, which would maybe be a cool follow-up, is to try and do all the big cats of the world in a single year. It will be near impossible for some of them, but a cool project to have and to try and see if we could do it, get it right. Jaden, generally no. So, I mean, you saw, I don't know if you were watching yesterday, Jaden, but those three lionesses chased Tingana in the morning, and he ran for his life. He's not really going to entertain it. But there has been one or two recorded cases of leopards fighting with lions. There was a male leopard, and I always forget his name. I don't know why. It starts with a T. Chilanga male, that's it. That was down in the southern part of the Sabi Sands. And there was a very famous video of him fighting off members of the Southern Pride for a kudu kill. And he came in and started fighting with these lionesses and actually beat them up a little bit. And they backed off for a while, and then they chased him eventually. But they got a bit of a fright from the aggression of this cat. So the video went around for a while of him kind of moving in on the carcass, and then it didn't show the whole story, unfortunately. It kind of showed him having a little altercation, and the lion's kind of backing off and him backing off and rolling on his back. But the whole altercation was that he eventually got to the kill and actually fed off it for a bit, and then they chased him. And he was the same male that actually killed some of their cubs and then was subsequently killed by a pride of lions eventually. But so generally no. And the reason is that lions are just so much bigger. Even a lioness, you know, if she weighs 150 kilograms, which is not monstrous lioness, I mean, it's a big lioness, but not huge, she's already got pretty much half his weight extra than what he does. And so it's just dangerous for male leopards to be fighting with lions. It's way too high risk, and there's very little reward for it at the end of the day. What is it going to get them? They don't compete for territory. It's not like he can mate with other lions. And if it's a food situation, easier to go and find your own food than to fight with something that can kill you. So those kind of interactions are very, very, very few and far between, and most leopards are petrified of lions and will just run away. You can see even our little male, as soon as I said lion, he kind of got his little shivers and popped his head up and looked in our direction. Don't worry, boy, there's no lions around. You're all good. In fact, there are lions around. The three lionesses that we saw yesterday are not too far south of where I am at the moment. They're inside a net. So they're not a long way. The other leopard that's also quite close, also on the nets, is Shasha. He's on there. So for those of you who don't know who Shasha is, that's one of Sibui's cubs. It's the male cub. Apparently he's just south of Chitwa's boundary, so you can guess where I'm going to be tomorrow morning, all of you. I'll probably be a bit down this side, following up potentially on this guy, and maybe on Sibwe's little male, see if he comes north. In the meantime, no, we're going to send you to other spotty cats with Deervelt and see what they're up to.
We came back to this female cheetah and her tiny little cubs, and surprise, surprise, they are feeding on a tiny impala lamb. You can just see the female at the moment. The youngsters are all behind her there, and it's getting dark very quickly now. I think the sun is just about to go under the horizon here. But you can see the female. There's the youngster's head just behind her there. Look at that. She keeps on looking in this direction. So it's nice and open here around her. But one of the other rangers just let us know that they could hear some alarm calls around the area. So we wonder if there's maybe another predator close by or so. Oh, look at those tiny youngsters. Just keeping our distance from them. We don't even go off the road with the vehicles around these youngsters just yet, just because it's still getting them used to the vehicle slowly but surely. And once they show no more behavioral changes with the vehicles being around, then we'll see if we can approach them a little bit closer. But how cute are those little youngsters? This is the first time that we've seen them feeding on meat. Gauge their age probably around 2 months old. They generally get given some meat, and mom will take them to their first carcass when they're about 3 months old, but these youngsters look still very, very small. Say mom's sitting up right there. You can just hear another vehicle coming past here. So with that sound, she's just sitting upright, making sure that there's nothing around. There she's up. Might get another there. We can see another view of the youngsters there. But for now, I think we're going to stick around here for now until it gets too dark for us to film them. And we'll see what these cheetahs get up to. Maybe they'll move a little bit for us.
Welcome back to and Beyond Ngala, everybody. And we've kind of just popped into the riverbed quickly, and there's a lovely troop of baboons. I'm going to quickly just stick on this female here at the moment. If you look in her lap, look, she's got a brand new baby. Look at how different the colors are, how pink or even red that little one's face is, and how black its fur is compared to mom. Stands out incredibly so. And you see how mom's sitting down like that, and the baby kind of like in her lap. You see where the baby's face is. I mean, they'll carry them underneath the moms, particularly when they're young like this for the first few weeks of their lives. And you see how it's suckling there. By carrying the babies underneath them, they've got this constant supply of milk, which is so important to any newborn. Look at that hand, eh? Jeez, it's just like a human's hand, reaching for a little bit of grip on the other side of mom as she moves around. That little baby, look at that one just watching. Little babies can often cause quite a lot of excitement within a troop. You'll see some of the older ones wanting to play with the little ones, but this one's far too little to play with at the moment, so mom will protect it incredibly so. You'll even see some other females often trying to snatch little baby baboons out of their hands. So I'm going to just take your attention, BK. You see those ones playing on the rocks again. So there's another few little ones that have kind of climbed to halfway up the bank on the riverbed, and they are playing, younger ones, incredibly playful. It's amazing how easily, I mean, that's a sheer steep rock face that they're all running up so easily. See a couple of them watching. There's another one that's just reappeared there. It's that time of the day. It's after an incredibly hot day. It's cooled down. It's still light enough to see. The baboons are mostly spending their time in the riverbed. Really good place to keep a lookout for danger. There will be a few in the tops of the really tall trees around us as well, acting as like these sentries, kind of looking out for danger. And if there is danger, I mean, there are tracks of leopards around, but they've proved to be incredibly difficult to follow and actually track because of the abundance of elephants in the reserve today. So this is a really good marker to kind of keep in your mind with these baboons here. If they do start to alarm call, and they will make a lot of noise if they see a leopard moving close by. If we do hear them, it's kind of a great place to come shooting back here. Maybe that leopard isn't far away. Super playful here. I think they might have spent quite a lot of their day feeding. They're not really worried about feeding so much anymore, but they're going to probably pick one of the bigger trees around here to spend the evening and sleep. Look how easily they get and climb up there, huh? Their weight makes it a bit easier for them. They're much lighter than us. But they've got those opposable thumbs, which makes it easy for them to grab. Look how those two grab each other, in fact. They're even running down that steep slope backwards. But you see how, like, all that playtime, wrestling, and then they stop and look around. Make sure that there isn't maybe a predator that snuck up on them, smaller ones like that, maybe even a big bird of prey, or even a bigger, older baboon. I mean, these little fights or play fights can often turn into quite aggressive ones, and then a bigger male baboon will come in and kind of discipline the younger ones, and can be quite aggressive and quite harsh at times. The noise is quite amazing, actually. It's like these high-pitched screeches. So I'm sure they're going to pick one of these trees this evening. This is a really beautiful spot, right on the riverbed. Some really large trees around to kind of roost and sleep for the evening. Look at that one reaching right up, doing a pull-up to kind of get to the top of that branch, maybe even trying to sneak up, use the rock as a bit of cover. Look at those tails as well hanging down. Those tails make it a little bit easier for them when doing these tricky maneuvers on steep rock faces or climbing up into trees, flimsy branches. You see how the smaller ones kind of make way for the bigger one? Oh, little tumble. Burning off some excess energy before they settle in this evening. Down into the riverbed. It's like kind of the king of the castle here. The little ones, whoever's highest at any point is kind of winning the game, and they'll chase one down. And as soon as one is chasing another one will take that high spot again. They've got incredibly tight family groups as well. They look after each other very, very well. There'll be a few males, dominant males within here. Look at that little baby now. Kind of stroking mom's face. It's trying to be adventurous, hey? But mom's kind of holding it and preventing it from going anywhere. So I'm going to keep going, try and utilize as much of this twilight hour before it gets completely dark. But in the meantime, I'm going to send you to Taylor, who seems to have found a leopard.
So, the quick glimpse of a leopard that we had earlier here at Nglovu Dam has returned. Hello. And has caused quite a stir. You can see it's slightly agitated. The different geese are not happy. The kudu were barking. The impala were snorting. We tried to race around to the other side of the dam to see if we could get a better view. Now, we're parked quite far away, so I'm struggling to see exactly who it is. Not that I'm super familiar with all of the leopards here. Now that I'm looking at it, doesn't look particularly tiny, but Pixie Pan, who is a female leopard that likes to hang about here, her cub should be around 9 months old, somewhere around there, I would say, 8 or 9 months old. I can't see if this is Pixie Pan or if it is one of her youngsters. We must be about 120 meters away from this leopard. We are very, very far. But very cool anyways. So it's just a little bit difficult, but quite stocky. So maybe it is Pixie Pan. Pixie Pan's got a 2-2 spot pattern. She's also got the most gorgeous, beautiful blue eyes. But with the light fading quite quickly, it's difficult to kind of make it out. You can see very nervous. Definitely a female. I wonder if it is a youngster or if it is Pixie Pan. And of course I have deleted every single photo off of my phone. So there we go, coming down to the water. There we go, coming down to have a drink. And a nice hot day. There's the other leopard. There's a cub above her. So that must be Pixie Pan. And then if you go up, Seb, there we go. There's the other leopard that's just come out now. So we saw one of them. All these might be the 2 cubs. This is the other thing. I haven't seen them for such a long time. The last time I saw them, hey Seb, remember when we had them? We had such a great sighting. They were right next to the car. But that leopard looks much bigger. So I'm not sure who we've got here. Now you can see those piercing blue eyes. There's also elephants, which I'm sure you heard trumpeting. There's all sorts of drama going on. The hippo is very unhappy. It's got its mouth wide open. I'm just in 2 minds to move right now, because I think I'm definitely going to disturb the cats. You can see that one and watching all the elephants move around. But very cool. But if you do have any input, that would be great. I'm really upset with myself that I've deleted the images of the leopards off of my phone. Ruminants, it's really impossible to have an idea of how many leopards are in one property because they move around quite a substantial amount, and also they can go in and out of reserve. So the Pridens is fenced off on 2 sides, on the western side and the southern side of the reserve, and then the north and the eastern section is all open, and essentially you could get to Mozambique if you wanted to. And the leopards go in and out of the Hoedspruit Wildlife Estate, which is this suburban area. People actually live there. So it's difficult to say. Also because the cats are not habituated here, I could not, and I don't think anybody can give you an accurate number as to how many leopards are seen, because the only leopards that I have seen are Pixie Pan and her 2 youngsters. And then I've seen Shimongwe, which is another male leopard. And then I've seen a second male leopard that also pops around here at this dam. A fully grown one, and then a young male that gets chased up the trees quite often by lions, and then also Pixie Pan's sister. So just those ones for now, but I'm sure there are more, but they're just quite shy and don't really like the vehicles and really do a good job at hiding away. They sort of just leave their footprints around. We hear a lot of leopard activity, but you can see how nervous that cat is. I don't know where the other one has gone now, but it'd be great to see some screenshots a little bit later. I'm trying to think if I have any pictures of them. Let me see if I can quickly scour social media for a picture or 2. I'm sure that on Eco Training social media I have given some images. It just requires me to do a fair amount of scrolling, because I think we should have a nice picture of at least one of the cubs. Pixie Pan, that was quite a while ago. You can see all those ripples are being caused by the elephants that are also swimming. Luckily we get to see them all the time, so they're not going to be our main focus this afternoon. Who's that? So there's one of Pixie Pan's cubs, so I'm just looking at a picture. Maybe that was the one up on the dam wall. And then I've definitely shared a photo. I'm sorry, I'm just having a look, catching up. There we go, there's she. I think that is her. I think that is her drinking water. I think it's quite a big leopard. She wasn't the largest female, however, that I have seen. Not as big as Kutrava. I think she was quite a fit girl. Tundi is a very, very petite sort of small leopard. I reckon that Pixie Pan is maybe just a little bit bigger than Tundi. Not quite as big as Karula was, although some of you probably don't even know who Karula is, but it is Tundi's mother. One of the most famous leopards in the Sabi Sand. But with those piercing blue eyes, I think that might just be... And I think even if you take a screenshot, it's going to be so difficult to zoom in to try and see the spot pattern. I did try and take a photo off of my camera to have a look. But there's just unfortunately just not enough light. And the image becomes quite sort of pixelated. Oh, very, very nervous. Was that a male? No. Definitely a female. Sorry, I just saw a golden patch near the rear end, but it isn't. It looks like definitely a female. I'm wondering if we should try and move. I don't know where the other ones have gone now. But anyways, it's quite exciting that the leopards are back around in Lorvedan. You know, it's moments like these that I definitely appreciate. And it really it reminds me of how lucky I was to work in a place like the Sabi Sand, where the leopards will literally lay right next to your vehicle.
Wild Earth is launching our brand new Explorer program with an opportunity to win a very special Wild Earth expedition. The lucky winner will get a behind-the-scenes Wild Earth experience at the magnificent and beyond Ngala Tainted Safari Camp. The prize includes a 3-night stay for you and a friend with a chance to sleep out in the unique Ngala treehouse. Become a Wild Earth Explorer and stand a chance to win this and many other prizes. Terms and conditions apply.
Join us around the fire as we have our very first Wild Earth Explorers Fireside Chat.
And what that means is that if you are an explorer, we're inviting you to come and join us so we can chat about the greatest highlights of 2020.
We will be chatting about our favorite characters and what they have been up to during the course of this year.
And if you would like to join us, head over to our Explorers page and subscribe. Don't miss out. This Fireside Chat will be on the 13th of December at 7:30 p.m. Central African Time, straight after Sunset Safari.
An ever-increasing part of the global population is losing its connection with nature. Wild Earth is here to reduce people's stress and anxiety, allowing you to escape into nature even just for a few hours a day. However, Wild Earth is expensive to run, and we need help from you to keep this ship going. Wild Earth Explorers gives you the opportunity to be part of a program that supports the sharing of nature with the world.
Hi, I'm Kyle, and I come to you live every day here from Tswalu, Kalahari in South Africa. My favorite bird has to be the social weaver. The enormous nest that they create, their survival tactics to inhabit these harsh and unforgiving environments, and as well as their complex social arrangements is truly remarkable. And the interconnectedness with the ecosystem shows us that we are too.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth.
Well, as you can see, it's gotten even better. Our little male has come down from his mound and is now sat on the most glorious tiny little mound and is posing like an absolute champion. I'm so thrilled with this afternoon. It couldn't have gotten any better. We even followed him a little bit, and he didn't run, he didn't move, he just kind of walked ambled in front of us. It was absolutely perfect. It was kind of everything that you could ask for from a leopard. So I'm so chuffed with this afternoon and how it kind of turned out. It was well worth the frying that we took early on this afternoon, waiting for him to decide whether or not he wanted to be our friend or whether he wanted to move away from us. But this evening he's been absolutely perfect. He kind of sat nicely, he's posed, and I mean, to have a leopard like this, like I say, this is a world-class view of a cat. anywhere in the world. It's the perfect little mound. He's kind of like sandwiched between these two little peaks. He's got his legs forward, and he's more looking away from us now than he is at us. So it's much, much better in so many respects. Like I said, I couldn't be more happy with how things have turned out this evening. It really, really is an absolute, I don't know what the word is for it, a little privilege, I suppose, to see the trust start to develop after some time and a little bit of effort. So I'm super, super happy at this stage. Hopefully, he'll be fine. I'm not going to stay with him until when it gets dark, though. Once it starts to get dark, because he's on his own, because it's very windy, it's a dense, thick area. If he does move and we move and off-road, you never know what it can attract. So as soon as it gets too dark for our camera, I'm going to leave him, because that's always a sign that it's time to let him be. Ultimately, he's not with mom, and even though he is over a year old and he is viewable by himself at night, it just seems like the wrong thing to do in this wind. So I would rather wait until it gets dark, leave him, and tomorrow is another day. It would be the worst feeling in the world if something were to happen to him, because we were kind of off-roading around where he's been lying for the day. So that's the kind of plan. So this will probably be the last little bit that we're with him this evening, and he's been an absolute treat. I really, really hope that he's going to spend more time where we can view him. It's going to take a lot of kind of concentrated effort to come out here, and there's going to be many, many days where we're going to get absolutely nothing driving around this section, but it will be worth it. He's far enough from Djuma that it's very possible that he could distribute to Djuma itself as a young leopard, young male leopard looking for a territory. So who knows? It's almost worth putting in the effort in the off chance that happens. You never know. I mean, there's Buffalo's Hook, there's Torchwood, there's Djuma, there's Simambili. We've got a really nice traverse now. So putting in the effort now might reward us later on. That's for sure. Still no sign of mom, though. I haven't heard any alarm calls. It's so windy, you wouldn't hear anything unless the alarm calls are downwind from us. Unfortunately, that hasn't happened. But like I say, we're going to probably leave him now, let him be to himself. I mean, we've had 3 hours with this cat, which is absolutely phenomenal. In the meantime, though, we're going to send you across to Trish, and hopefully she's going to get some luck at the hyenas.
I certainly did get some luck with the hyenas. Not the particular luck I was hoping for. I was hoping for June and that little one to possibly come out. But here we have Heart suckling her two. And then up on the mound, we have the stragglers, motherless, hoping for some milk themselves. Ribbons too. And then finally, Corky's a little strong, independent woman. Also motherless at this moment. At least they're not staring at Heart's cubs suckling. Now they're just staring at the other vehicle that has arrived. So with Heart around, it's unlikely that June will come through. But still, we can enjoy our time here with them. Look at this little one, so curious about that vehicle. She's like, this is not the usual smell. This is not Trish. What is that light? No, they don't smell like the people I'm used to. Let's put my head down. Now the wind is picking up quite a lot. Very, very much so. Still nice and warm, but definitely cooled down substantially. Hopefully tonight will be cooler and all our furry creatures can get a good night's rest. In the case of the cubs, in the case of heart. Ooh, Swallow's got something exciting. Let's go over quickly.
So we've finally got the first jackal that's decided that it's going to start to come in. The other two that were here earlier have both gone in different directions, and we heard them calling and calling as if they were looking for reinforcements. And then not even 2 minutes ago, right up on the ridge in the terminalias, these two jackal, they were fast asleep, and they just popped up and we saw their little silhouette, and they've made their way down the dune, upwind of this ostrich, and they're still very nervous to approach. The other one's just a little bit out of shot. It's starting to trot in now. It's coming in behind the bushes, so it's going to join its companion shortly. Still very, very nervous. We haven't seen any sign of that cheetah at all, but the jackals definitely, as the angle of the sun has changed, and it's started to get the winds dropping a little bit, the jackal will start getting a little bit more brave to come in. There. You got them both there. Owen and I have had the debate over the last half an hour, 20 minutes of should we stay, should we go? But then, it's that age-old question of instinct says to you, stay, but nothing's happening, you're just staring at a dead ostrich. Literally, to answer our question, one little jackal popped up and they came down the dune. So now it's definitely answered that I think we'll stick it out and see what happens. He's just gone behind the top there. They're very, very nervous and hesitant to come to this. Maybe just waiting for a little bit more darkness, maybe some reinforcements. The meerkats have decided it's bedtime. They went to bed about 10 minutes ago. They just decided enough of this wind. They've eaten enough for the day. They're calling it an early night. So they've headed down into the same burrows where they were, just in front. The little barking geckos are getting more and more, which is unusual. Kim's asking the question, can they run fast? If you're speaking about the jackal, yes, they can. They typically actually keep more of a trotting motion, and that's quite a sustainable movement that they have. Running fast, sometimes I always say, is relative to what is chasing you. And if it's a cheetah that's chasing them, then they're definitely going to run a little bit faster. If you were talking about the ostrich, that one didn't run fast enough. But at top speeds, an ostrich is capable of running. I've had one running parallel to the vehicle, clocking close on 70 kilometers per hour. But then again, you go into the fastest land mammal that we think actually killed this, and that's topping speeds of over 110 kilometers per hour. So the cheetah just needed a short rush, a burst. Ostrich are very funny when they're running fast. They get very wobbly. They get a bit of a speed wobble. They're only running on two legs, and they sort of shift left to right, and their wings come out like a little bit of a stabilizing bar, and they can get quite wobbly. And maybe that's how the cheetah was actually successful in bringing the ostrich down, as it just managed to overtake it, possibly jump on the back, maybe trip it. Cheetah's typical tactic is to trip up its prey. So with those legs on an ostrich, you do have to be very, very careful of that sharp claw. So you don't want to be attacked by an ostrich. But maybe that ostrich just sort of slipped and fell, and the cheetah got onto the neck quite quickly. So hopefully that answers your question as to which one is the fastest. First the cheetah, then the ostrich, and then the jackal. But that ostrich was not fast enough. The jackals are running up at the dune on the back there, between that gap in the terminalias on the base of the dune. Okay. So masks is asking when is the jackal's mating season. So most of them, that's actually a good question. I don't want to say I know for sure if they have a season, but probably relatively soon actually, because they'll have the pups. There's more food available in the summer season, and even if they have to bring fruit or rats or mice, it'll be more in the summer season. I'll get back to you on that one. There is, I can see in the distance, but probably a good 500 meters or more, there's another jackal trotting in. It might have been the one that we lost visual of, but they'll start coming from, the wind's been blowing in from the south, so north of us at the moment would be where all the center's gone. We're really crossing our fingers and our toes to hope that maybe a brown hyena or something would get this scent on the wind and decide to come in to investigate, and then hopefully also take a bite of ostrich. So that's pretty much our update at the moment. I'm going to have a quick look in my book. I've got a little bit of a library going on in the side here, so we can't know everything, but I would rather answer the question correctly than incorrectly. So we're going to go to raising of young, and then we'll have a look at what they say so we can answer your question properly. And nothing there about seasons in that book, so we're going to have to go to the next one in the library, the actual mammal book. Oh, that light is looking golden at this stage. Look at the change, the color change on that on the carcass. It's really pretty at the moment. Got to find the and I'm just having a quick read. So yes, I have got the answer here in my book. Seasonal breeder, so 1 to 8, wow, that's a lot of pups, but usually 3 or 4, being born July to October. So sometimes certain areas, the reason it's such a long time frame, it'll depend on the heat, it'll depend on food availability, and that'll be why it's such a long time frame. And then the gestation period is actually not very long, it's only 60 days, so 2 months. And, oh, cute. The little pups will only weigh about 150 to 200 grams when they're born. And the interesting thing with jackals is that all of them, the previous youngsters and the current adults, the current pair or the parents, should you put it that way, they all contribute to helping feed those pups. And why they do that in the jackal groups is that the youngers, the sub-adults, jackal are actually learning parenting skills from their parents. So in one way, it's safety in numbers, but it's also more that can protect the pups and provide food for them, which also then increases their success rate. And they're not necessarily mature themselves. They've got to figure out how they own territory, how they fight at carcasses, and then when they are ready, they'll move on and go and find a place of their own. So we're just literally waiting for hopefully that cheetah to come over the top of the dune, but we've been waiting a long time. But as the light fades, maybe. Moeed is asking, is the whole of Tswalu this iron-rich red soil? So I would probably say about half of Tswalu, the dune areas of Tswalu, so the western belt of Tswalu is made up of this nice red soil. So anywhere where there's dunes, we get this nice red soil, and then we do have quite a lot we've got the Karaneberg mountain range, which is then just a nice rocky area, so there's not too much soil on the base of this. And all of this would have come in on wind. It would all have been aeolian, so wind blown in over thousands and thousands of years ago, and then it would have settled and be vegetated over that time. So these sand belts in this red color stretch from here all the way north right up into Namibia. So we can actually, maybe I can jump off quickly and show you how iron rich the soil actually is. I'm going to do a little trick. I'm not attached to the vehicle, so just tell me where you can see me. So very often a nice little trick to know how iron rich the soil is to take a magnet, and then we can just run it over the soil. Oh, not too much iron in that one. Let me try. Either my magnet is not very strong, but if Owen zooms in there, I don't know, maybe I must come closer. So if you zoom in there, you can actually see how much iron is actually picked up on the magnet of my name badge. And that's there's quite a lot of it. And if I try and just sort of get it off onto my finger there, you can see that dark, it's almost a dark black color, which is why we get this nice little rusty red that we see. But look how spectacular that afternoon light makes these orange dunes. And there's just something about the Kalahari that's just absolutely stunning in the late afternoon with this low light. Everyone always talks about this golden hour for photographers. But I think in the Kalahari we have about 2 golden hours in the morning and about 2 golden hours in the afternoon because of the angle. They're directly behind me on the base of the dune. I can see a jackal moving. You got him? I'm going to just sneak back into the vehicle. We don't want to disturb anything that might think that it wants to come here. So I can just see that jackal's decided to sit down. They really are testing our patience. So he's just enjoying the last rays of sunshine. We still have probably another 20 minutes of light. So we're going to stick it out. There's not much more time left. So as the jackal sits and waits, so shall we.
What a spectacular sighting at Swallow with Deirdre. I'm sure you all remember Deirdre was with us here at one point too. These guys are now dozing off. It seems like all of their energy has been zapped by the day's sun. Now everyone's out just to cool off a little bit because the temperature outside is possibly just a few degrees cooler than the temperature inside of the mound. A bit of suckling going on. Oh, I must, before I forget, because I keep forgetting every segment. Earlier when we were at the dam, and I referred to the terrapins at Chelonians. They're not. They're testudins, not Chelonians. Chelonians are just turtles. Testudins are terrapins and tortoises. Sorry, it's been on my mind as soon as from the time I said it, and then I wanted to correct myself and never got the opportunity. So there I go, before I forget. Hart just looked at me like, can you please start talking about us and not your Chelonian testudians? Okay, fine, I'll talk about you, Hart. I wonder if that milk will be cold, because on a night like this, you need some cold milk and Milo. At least that's what I think. Maybe that will get the energy going here too. Shame. How gorgeous. We're going to stick here until the end of drive.
So that jackal that was sitting has moved off. Both Owen and I were distracted for a second, and now we can't find where he went. So we are still looking, but how beautiful do all those silver terminalias look on the top of the dunes at the moment. They've started to flower. So the problem with silver terminalia is when they flower, they smell like stinky socks. I personally start getting headaches if there's too many of them. But yeah, they are pollinated by flies, so a good effort on their behalf to make themselves nice and stinky. And speaking of smell, I can see the jackal. He just sat down. He just laid down. So, and you can take the 3 silver cluster leaves in a row, and you just come down with the middle one, just above that green bush. He's lying down there. So he just lay down exactly where he was sitting. Oh, he's a bit tough. He's not on the red soil anymore. He's just top left of that green bush. Do you know what you can see well? Okay. Yeah, a little bit of a challenge. He's actually blends in so well with his environment. If he hadn't have moved, I wouldn't have seen him. I was busy looking through the binoculars at the time. There, he picks his head up. So I just don't understand. There's a full ostrich there. We've had 4 jackals moving around. The last 2 came in. They came to about 10 meters. And then they hesitated and then they walked away. You're like, it's free food. It's like a free buffet. Just like, help yourself. But there's just something that's making them stay away. Don't forget to ask us any questions or send your comments on #WildEarth. Carol, I absolutely agree with you. The colours in the Kalahari are breathtaking. When you get those sort of deep primary colours of red and yellow and green with that blue, beautiful sky, absolutely amazing. This morning we had 1 little cloud in the sky. By the middle of the day, there were some areas that were 80% cloud cover, and an hour later, it was all gone. So this wind has just been blowing consistently the whole day. We're very fortunate in that the sand hasn't been blowing, because if the wind blows any stronger, Owen and I would be sitting in a sandstorm right now, and it would be quite difficult. And then by the end of the day, if you've had one of those sandstorms, you just spend time with lots of earbuds trying to get sand out of your ears, out of the corner of your eyes. It can be quite unpleasant if it gets too windy. The barking geckos are starting to get more and more in their vocalizations. Just listen. Just take a moment to just listen. And that jackal is just lying. He's just taking a nice little nap. We can't call it a cat nap. We can just call it a dog nap. Oh. So, yeah, much earlier there were some calling for reinforcements, and we thought by now there'd be a whole troop of jackals that arrived. So, hopefully that jackal is looking around for hyenas, but we're going to send you to Trishala for an update on her hyenas.
Oh, my hyenas would be very interested in a carcass, and I'm sure these little ones would be super curious to meet some jackals. Especially this little spunky thing. Can never choose favorites, but I must say Corky's little one is high up there, in my ranking at least, and the Juma clan's ranking. She is still in the middle. We're unsure really about the ranking of Corky and June, as well as Indibele, we mustn't forget that, and Sutu, mustn't forget those 2. Or those 4. We're only really sure about Ribbon and Heart. So it'll be interesting to watch all of these dynamics unfold over the next couple of years. That's what I'm looking forward to. Years of watching them grow and see where they go and what they do. We're having some gorgeous lightning, no thunder just yet, but some lightning off in the distance, and the wind is picking up, so maybe we'll have the well-deserved storm after the many days, a couple, at least 3 days of really, really, really hot weather. The heavens need to open. Doesn't it feel like such a relief when that happens? I certainly think so. I guess the mums of these three are out shopping at the moment for some carcass, perhaps. Vivian! I know, they're so stunning. Vivian says they're so cute and special to see. They really are. Sometimes just watching them is enough. They don't need to be doing anything. For them to do something is an extra bonus. It really is, and they really do. That being said, playing with tortoises, running around in circles around the mound, all sorts of crazies. Cutest little things. Did you hear that, little cubbies? Vivian loves to watch you guys, just like I do. It feels like a very, very special evening. It's quite cloudy, so you can't see many stars. There's one out. Jupiter and Saturn will be coming very close, and we'll show that to you when we have a clear night. For now, we just have the stars in the eyes of these hyena cubs. I hope that spending time at the den has softened lots of people's opinions and feelings about hyenas, because so often they get a very bad reputation. And even though we get to spend time at the den, this is not the most exciting thing. This is not when you get to see some truly magnificent behavior from hyenas and, the scope of their intelligence. Here we get to see them in the realm of mothering and nursing and cuteness and softness, all those wonderful things. But they're such formidable hunters. So very intelligent. Their intelligence is comparable to old world monkeys, or apes rather. Hi Bailey, you'd like to know if hyenas hunt at night or during the day? They will generally hunt in the late evening, through the night, and the early morning. And we do get that type of question often. During the day, it's very hot for predators, so they're not out hunting unless there's an, great opportunity just walks by them. Or it's an overcast day, stuff like that. So it's not really a hard and fast thing. A lot of books will say leopards are nocturnal, hyenas are nocturnal, but they're not. It depends so much on various factors, and that's something to understand about all the animals out here. And biology is for us to say that everything does this or this always happens is very, very rare. It all depends on the circumstance. I've seen hyenas hunting in the morning at about 7 o'clock, and that's at this time that I've been here now, so it's very hot at about 7 o'clock. But the opportunity has presented themselves. The lambs have dropped, so there's easy prey around. So that will adjust how they behave, because their environment has changed just a little bit. An environment is not just these abiotic things. It's not just the air or the temperature or anything like that, or the topography. It's also the biotic factors, the living factors. when those things change, hunting strategies change. But the preference for all predators is generally cool. They wait for a time when it's cool to hunt. Cheetahs are a slight exception to that, but even still, they need time to recover after they've done a chase because they can easily overheat. Very peaceful out at the den this evening. It's wonderful to be in IR because we can see so much without imposing any kind of artificial light on them, and that's the beauty of infrared. I mean, at the moment I can't see anything. All I can see is a mound with a couple black spots on it, but in infrared you can see so much detail without adjusting their environment at all. Australian guy, hi, good evening. You would like to know if hyenas are my favorite, or should I say good morning to you? Hyenas, are you asking if hyenas are my favorite? Australian guy, it's really difficult for me to choose favorites. I can never, but I do love them. I love them so much. It's definitely, I think, out of the animals that we see out here, the mammals that we see out here, I've got a very, very big soft spot for hyenas. Really, they're I almost feel like somehow they know me, but I think that's just me being human and wanting to feel like I have a relationship with these animals. But there's something about them that I really love. They're intelligent. They have acute senses. They're cute. They have an incredible social structure. And that's just a few things. I mean, there's all these intricacies as well that just amaze me about them. Like, someone else coming along. And these intricacies, like the structure of their... Oh, we've got ribbon. How's these sounds? It's always important to make sure that these sounds get conveyed to you guys too, because that is the real experience, to be able to see and hear everything that's going on. Greeting each other is very, very important. It reaffirms those social bonds. It conveys so much. It's like that. They're telling each other. You know, they're speaking to each other in a language that we don't understand. Not even just language, but they're conveying chemical signals, olfactory signals. This is amazing. Stunning, stunning sounds. We're going to stick around, of course, and see what else transpires at the den.
Have you been watching Wild Earth and dreamt of being right there on safari with one of the guides? Well, now you can. Wild Earth is offering you a chance to buy a ticket to dream. You or a friend can hop on board a live Wild Earth show and join our guide on safari. The ticket is redeemable at any of our locations, anytime in the future. Only a limited number of tickets are available, so don't wait. Get your ticket now and start dreaming. Terms and conditions apply.
Join us around the fire as we have our very first Wild Earth Explorers Fireside Chat.
And what that means is that if you are an explorer, we're inviting you to come and join us so we can chat about the greatest highlights of 2020.
We will be chatting about our favorite characters and what they have been up to during the course of this year.
And if you would like to join us, head over to our Explorers page and subscribe. Don't miss out. This Fireside Chat will be on the 13th of December at 7:30 p.m. Central African Time, straight after Sunset Safari. This is Rusty. He's my favorite vehicle, and we've been through all the good times here in the bush. Now, if you feel a connection to Djuma Game Reserve like I do, then we have a fantastic opportunity for you. You can have your name engraved on a brushed metal plaque just like this one, and we will attach it to Rusty so you can always be with us on safari in spirit. We will even send you a digital photograph once your plaque is mounted on Rusty. Spaces are limited, so grab your spot now.
Hello, boy. You are a monster. And he's coming right up to us. Hello, boy. Oh, settle down. Settle down. He is very, very close. He's pushing his trunk against the car. You can feel the car moving. Hey, 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 hey. Stop that.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
I'm not sure if you caught the end of that segment just before hello. Just before we linked away. But so as a general idea, the hyena that lifts up their leg first for a greeting ceremony is usually being submissive to the other hyena. So the greeting ceremony is very important. That's when they sniff each other's genitals, and there's a whole lot of cues that they get from it, those smells, because like I said, they've got highly developed olfactory senses. And Ribbon lifted her leg up first. And I haven't seen that before. But like I said, it's an idea. It's not a hard and fast rule like everything in out here, as I was explaining before. To say all and everything is not something we do often. But then also, Heart is the one that moved out of that prime spot in front of the den and gave it to Ribbon to use. Interesting. You know, you can sit here all day and just watch their behaviors with each other and learn so much. It's time for the two big boys to get a feed. Oh, that looks painful. You know, they've got teeth now. Well, I mean, lots of them. Janet, you'd like to know how far the cubs will go when they leave the clan? The males will migrate, but the females will not. So the females will stay within the clan, and that's how we've been able to keep track of all the lineages that we have in the Djuma clan, is because the females stay in the clan. It's a matriarchy. But the males will disperse at about between 2 and 3 years old, or 2.5 and 3 years old. And they will travel to maybe the nearest clan. They may travel tens of kilometers. I haven't heard of them traveling hundreds of kilometers, but that doesn't mean it's impossible. It doesn't mean it hasn't been done. But tens of kilometers, definitely. Like these two boys, they're very high-ranking individuals. They're the cubs of the matriarch, regardless of the fact that they are males. They're inheriting their mother's rank. So they're very high-ranking. And when they leave this clan, they've got to make the decision between sticking with the Juma clan and having these rights at carcasses, at shady spots and things like that. But it means that they won't mate. None of the Juma clan members, the females, will mate with these males because they are part of the clan. The genetics are similar. They share genetics, share genes. So what they will do is these males, even though they, have the taste of a very good life here, will go to another clan as immigrant males and start right at the bottom. But by starting right at the bottom, being chased away from carcasses and all that kind of thing, at least they have mating rights. And like I've always said, make more of me is the biological purpose of life. In order to live so that you can procreate and that your genes and your species continues for many years to come. It's instinctual. That being said, there has been a case that I read about, or rather it was mentioned in one of the books I was reading, that there have been cases, or at least one case, of a male being, I guess, the patriarch of a clan before. This is highly, highly unusual, and so are males who are part of clan, born into the clan, staying within the clan. Also unusual, but less unusual than a male being the top-ranking individual in the clan. The ribbon looks very, very at ease. And it's just beautiful to be able to watch them and watch their lives progress, all the ups and downs that they go through. And if you love connecting with wildlife, won't you go over to our website? There's a whole lot of exciting things happening. You can go read all about them on wildearth.tv/explorers. Sign up and find out all the benefits that means for you. Oh, little Corky. Your mama will come soon and feed you. And the sounds that they do are not just amazing. Hyenas have so many vocalizations, and they communicate not just with vocalizations. Tests have been done on intelligence and where they've communicated and solved problems without making any vocalizations, just communicating on a level that we can't understand, taking cues from body language and from sense. Extraordinary creatures, like everything out here. Everything has its place, and everything is as intelligent as it needs to be for where it fits in the story of the bush and wildlife. What a wonderful drive we've had. Started off so hot, now it's cooled down. Time at the dams. Cheetahs, leopards, all wonderful. And it's that time. See you tomorrow, and goodbye for now.